One. What is going on, guys? We are back here with the second episode of the ANS podcast, Arm Bars and Suplexes podcast network is what I'm kind of thinking of right now. But as always, I'm your host, Alec Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Alec Miller. I put the wrong one. It's 0423. I don't know why. That's my old Twitter account. My new one is 0423 is the number. And I'm joined as always by Jesus. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? It's Jesus. You can catch me on Twitter at the real Jesus right there. That's spelled JEEZUS as always. And boy, do we have an awesome show for you guys today.
Yes, man. As you can see from the name, it is the road to Fight Island. We are on the road to Fight Island. We're just at our last stop. We just have one little layover that is just resting, I guess. One little rest.
A very nice layover, I might add.
Yes, a very nice layover. We're going to rest for a week, and then we're going into 4 back-to-back weeks on Fight Island, I believe, in the UFC, and it's going to be a great time. Starting it off with the big title match, or 3 title matches for the UFC 252, right?
That's right.
252. They want 252.
It's 252. Yeah, let me double check, but I think it's 252.
Yeah, I think so. Because 250 was, damn, I don't know. I'm confused. 250. It's one of those 252 or 251, where it is.
It's 251. 251.
Okay, 251. So it's Burns versus Usman for the welterweight championship. We have Jan versus Aldo for the vacant bantamweight championship, and then we have why am I blinking? Volkanovski versus Holloway for the featherweight championship. So it's going to be 3 exciting fights. Yes, a rematch. 3 exciting fights that are for sure going to be bangers on all 3 of them, I believe. Honestly, I think all 3 of them are going to be bangers, and it's going to be great. But before that, we had to make 2 stops. I guess what we're talking about, because we missed the Blades versus Volkov fight card. So we'll talk about that. We had the fight card from last night, Hooker versus Poirier, which was a great fight. I can't wait to break that one down and the consequences of that one, and so much more. But before we get to that, as always, Jesus, what are you watching?
Oh, man, I've been watching so many things this past, I guess, week and a half. So I'll start off with Perry Mason on HBO on Sunday. The new one comes out today, episode 2. It was actually pretty good. It's a period piece, 1932. It's when it's set, and it's about... right now, it's a private detective named Perry Mason who is a real life person, but in the end, he ends up becoming a famous lawyer. So right now, he's not even a lawyer; he's just a detective. So I think that's pretty cool that it's starting out so soon. But it's really spot on, man. I mean, they have the old cars, they have the old dress, and it's right in the throes. I think either towards the end of the Depression or right in the beginning of the Depression. So it's really interesting because. Like the guy only has one suit, he only has one suit and he has one tie. And back in those days, like everybody had to be walking around with suit and ties. That was like you had to, I guess. And his tie has a egg on it or mustard on it or something. And so he goes to get a second tie. And where does he go get the second tie? Not at the store because they're way too expensive. He goes through his contacts to the morgue. And he pays the morgue guy to be able to lift a tie off of a dead man. So he's wearing a dead man's tie. So it's pretty cool, but it's pretty interesting. It's a lot more to it than that, but I just think the cinematography is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool premise. I'm going to go back afterwards and kind of read and see how accurate to history it is, but I think it's pretty cool so far. I'm excited about episode 2 today. Also, today is the beginning of this 6-part miniseries on HBO called I'll Be Gone in the Dark, I think it's called. Have you heard about that?
I have not heard of that.
There was a book that came out 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It was done by Michelle McNamara.
Patton Oswalt's wife.
That's correct.
Yes, she was looking for the Golden Gate Killer? Golden State Killer. There you go.
Golden State Killer, yes.
I remember hearing about this.
Yeah, so she wrote a book. There was also a podcast about it. And now it's a miniseries on HBO that starts today in the next 30 minutes at 10 p.m. I'm very excited about that. I'm very invested in this whole process and how, because right after that book came out, like within a month or two, they arrested him. They and the police, which I think is crazy, did not want to give any credit to the book, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And also, so you know, she passed away. Right? Michelle McNamara
Yeah,
passed away, and Patton
yeah, I remember.
Oswalt had to figure out a way to finish her all her investigation and her book together. So that's very interesting. That's coming out today. Let me see what else I watched this week. Um, what did I watch this week, man? We rented. Did I rent a movie? I don't know. We've been watching so much things lately, dude, that it's been back to back. Right now, I was watching a movie about John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis that came out in the year 2000. It's called 13 Days. Never heard about it, but so far so good. It has pretty good actors. It has Kevin Costner in it,
Ooh,
and yeah, it has a couple other big famous actors in it. And it's pretty interesting, man. Like behind the scenes stuff that I guess the public didn't know about what happened during that. I think it was 13 days. I mean, specifically 13 days of the
hmm
Cuban Missile Crisis. So that one's pretty good. Man, I'm trying to remember what else we saw. Oh man, we've been as a family, we've been binging Alone. Have you heard of Alone?
why does that sound familiar?
So
No.
it's a game show basically. It's like a reality like Survivor basically.
hmm
But what it is it's 10 people who feel they have survival skills and they're thrown into a very hostile environment. The first two seasons were in Vancouver Island in Canada. They put them in 10 different locations, 10 different sites. They give them 10 items that they can choose. So you can choose a axe, a knife. Most of
hmm
them choose that flint thing, to start fires.
Yeah, smart.
Some of them choose bow and arrow. Some of them choose. They get two tarps automatically. That doesn't count as their 10 items. But some choose to get a third tarp, and it's just interesting watching them go through it and see who can. The one who lasts the longest um, gets $500,000. And so
Damn.
they have a phone and they have like a button to tap out.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is like in the first couple seasons, the first episode, like a guy taps out like in the first 12 hours. It's like, come on, man.
It's probably always one of those.
Yeah, the day for I mean, so far in the first 3 seasons, I think there's been somebody tapping out the first day, which is kind of like it's first. It's a little frustrating. Like, man, you took up a spot for no reason, man. Come on, get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
But then you start seeing all the crazy stuff that happens. In Vancouver Island for the first 2 seasons, there's three apex predators on that island. There's cougars, black bears,
Oh
and
shit.
wolves.
Yeah.
And one dude taps out because he set a base camp on the bottom of a cliff, and on the top of the cliff is where the wolves were at, and they were like killing things up there, and he was like super scared, so
He's
he
like
tapped
hearing
out.
it every night.
Yes, dude, yes, and it's just, and then there's another guy who got dropped off, and the place he got dropped off is literally, a den of bears or something, like right in the bear area, like he's like the bear scat is still steaming. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh
dude.
God.
Yeah, dude. So
That
so
sounds horrible.
it's crazy, dude. And then what they do, like, and then they have like these little. I think what's really unique. I guess I don't even know if I've seen anything like it, but like they have little things at the bottom, little subtitles sometimes of things that are happening, and it'll
Yeah.
say, this guy hasn't ate protein in 6 days.
Oh
And
shit.
you're like, holy crap, that's why this guy's like going crazy because he hasn't ate fish. Like they can't, you have to provide for yourself, so you have to eat a
Yeah.
fish. They're eating slugs. They're cutting slugs up. They're eating mushrooms. They're eating kelp. Whatever they can find, dude. They're
Yeah.
just trying to survive, dude. So it's pretty gnarly, man. It's pretty interesting to see, like, especially now after like I've seen 2 seasons. I'm on the third season now. The kind of repetitiveness of where the human psyche goes after a certain amount of days by yourself with
Yeah.
nothing. They have no radio, no nothing. They just,
Damn.
it's just their mind, going and going and going. But it's really interesting, man. That's a definitely recommend. I got it off of Twitter. There's a couple high profile people on Twitter binging it as well, talking about it. That got me interested in it, and then I mean, it delivers, dude. I definitely recommend it if
Was
you
it
have
on
some time.
Netflix?
The first two are on Prime,
Prime?
on Prime for free, and
Mm,
then the third one is on uh, Hulu. I think 3 and 4 on Hulu, and then
okay.
5 and 6 are on Netflix, which is just ridiculous.
Someone has to
I
buy
mean,
those rights.
dude, it's just ridiculous, man. Oh, but
Yeah.
the third season, I don't know about the rest of the season. I know the first two seasons were in Vancouver Island, which is in Canada. The third season right now is in Patagonia, which is in like South America, and it's like a
Damn.
completely different set of challenges for the contestants, which is pretty cool.
That's one I'll definitely because I was like a huge Man versus Wild fan.
Oh, dude,
I
it's
love that show.
it's legit, dude, and you learn so much. That like right now, we're like, man, I bet we could stay out there like 30 days at least
Yeah,
30.
I
And
mean
we're like,
the way that most people have been living, they probably do think they can do.
yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, seriously, but it's just so difficult, man. Like in the first two seasons, I haven't seen the third season, but there was one contestant that lost their fire stick. You know, how do you lose your fire? You know what I'm saying? Like, but then again, you got to think. Then you got to think, man. Like they're under so much stress. You know, so much like to eat. You know, so as soon as you light that fire,
Yeah,
you wanna cook, or you want. The other thing too, another guy got eliminated because
jeopardy.
he went crazy because he was drinking salt water, man, and he was getting dehydrated and started hallucinating because he
Oh,
wasn't
shit.
boiling his water. You know, so there's
Yeah,
just so many things that go with it, dude, that you learn too. I definitely
hmm
recommend it, man. I definitely recommend it.
that's definitely one I'll
What
probably check out.
What about you, man? What have you been watching?
All right, so together with my girlfriend, we have been watching The Order. I don't know if you've heard of that show. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it
Yeah,
though, but I saw it on there.
so we watched the first season when it first came out, and I love it. It's like a badass like show. It's like if I guess like if like Supernatural and I don't know other shit was like in a rated R verse because like there
Oh,
is like super gory, they curse, they're like what the fuck like shit like that like but I think it's a pretty good interesting story. But yeah, so we're watching that because season two just came out, so we're one episode away from season two. We were watching it all last night. We're on the last episode, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's 4:30. It's four
oh
thirty in the
man.
morning." Elijah was still awake. I was like, "We gotta go to sleep." So then she went to sleep. I put on that 70 show, just like kind of put it on I've been putting on that 70 show on the background. And then finally, and with Elijah with his tablet, you ask him, "Hey, you ready to go to sleep? And give me your tablet." No, you keep asking him, and eventually he just goes, "Here,
It's
here,"
time.
and then
It's
goes to
game
sleep.
time.
Yeah, when he's tired. So did that. We also started. We were like 3 episodes in Avatar: The Last Airbender. We've never seen it, so we're like 3 episodes in. So that's
I'm
exciting.
only I'm only one episode in on that with my son. I'm watching it with my son, but we've been so focused on the loan that that it went to the back burner.
Yeah, we were doing Avatar like for 3 episodes, and then we're like, "Oh shit, The Order! Let's watch The Order."
Hey,
So we
so
put on The
would
Order.
you say that the order is kind of like a True Blood? Remember True Blood?
Yeah, less sex. There's no sex in it.
Oh, okay,
It's literally just
but
cursing and violence.
and the goriness. That's what I was gonna say because True Blood was kind
Yeah,
of gory.
yeah, but there's no because like there was like nudity like crazy in True Blood. I
Yeah,
remember, but no, it was like there's like maybe like the beginning of a sex scene like where they start and then it like cuts to a different scene. But yeah, there's nothing like that. But yeah, it's basically kind of because it's like there's a magical order like a secret society that does magic, but then there's these werewolves that they're people that were chosen by the hides. They're like the skin of the werewolf. They when they find the person they want to attach to, they attach to them, and that person becomes a werewolf.
hmm.
And basically, anytime they hear magic or anytime magic's being done, they hear a ringing in their ears, and they turn, and they have to go find whoever's doing the magic, like bad magic, and kill them because they're doing magic that's hurting people. So they're supposed to like they're like he even said it in the show, they're magic cops basically. But then like a bunch of other crazy shit goes down. It's pretty good.
All right,
Um,
I'm gonna have to watch it. I love all things zombies, vampires, werewolves,
yeah, it's
mummy,
pretty cool.
all that
They
stuff.
introduced demons in this last season, so it's pretty good. I think it's an interesting show. And then for movies, and then I also started. I watched 2 episodes of Attack on Titan, and I'm like, God damn, these are like super intense.
I forgot.
Uh,
I've been having to go back and see that too.
Dude, the
I
first 2 episodes
remember.
alone.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they grab your attention.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Uh,
my God, it's the first episode.
yeah, I remember what movie I did see. Man, I went back. So, oh shoot, I follow this guy on Twitter. I think I've told you before. His name is Shea Serrano. He's a
Hmm.
he's a fantastic writer. He's just really good writer. He's just a really good writer, man.
Hmm.
And he writes in the past, I would say 6 months, he's written books on shows. So he wrote a book on Scrubs, and he wrote a book on The Office.
Uh-huh.
So on the Scrubs one, it got so big that Zach Braff and Donald Faison asked them to come on to their podcast because they have a podcast where they're rewatching all the episodes of Scrubs and they talk about it. It's
What?
awesome. Yes, they're on episode 133. So we've been late to the
Oh,
party. We've been late to the
what the
party,
hell? I gotta
dude.
jump on that. I love Scrubs. One of my favorite
Yeah,
shows of all time.
dude. So buy that book, dude. It's a PDF. It's like $20 that Shea
Okay.
Serrano wrote, and then they invited him onto the podcast. And so on the podcast, they're talking and they're really talking more about because Shea Serrano's books, he has rap, the best, the rap yearbook, which is the best rap song of every year from 1979 through 2014. Then
Okay.
he has a book about basketball and other things. And then he has another book called Movies and Other Things. And then now he's making a book called Rap and Other Things.
Okay.
And Donald Faison loves rap. He's been into the rap culture for a long time. And he said in that podcast that he was in the movie Juice. And I was like, wait a second, man. I know Juice. I love the movie Juice. I loved all things Tupac.
I guess the only
I
two
don't
people I remember is Omar Epps and Tupac. So I gotta think
Tupac. Well,
back.
Samuel L. Jackson's in there too. So is Queen Latifah. So is
Holy, oh damn! I haven't seen this
so,
when I was a kid though.
so yeah. I mean, it came out in '92, I believe, and I remember seeing it. I know I saw it when Tupac was still alive. Tupac died in '96, I believe. I think it was '96. So I was probably 10 years old. I was telling my wife about this when I first saw it. But ever since then, I mean, I've seen that movie so many times. I'm like, man, I don't remember Donald Faison being in the damn movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I rewatched it just to make sure. And lo and behold, Donald Faison is in that movie. He's in the movie. He's in the part after it all goes down and Bishop kills Raheem and Bishop kills that guy, that the gang member, the Puerto Rican guy. He kills him. And now Omar Epps hasn't been around for a while, Q, and then he goes back to school. And when he's in school, he's at his locker and he's messing with his locker and he can't open it. And then a guy comes up to him with a flat top and he says, damn, man, it's been that long? Like making fun of him that he can't open it. Yeah. And Omar Epps turns to him and says, bet you won't tell me that outside. And the guy just walks away. The guy with the flat top was Donald Faison. And he's credited as student in the credits.
That's what's up.
Yeah, so it was pretty dope, man. I liked watching that movie. I like watching that movie again. A pretty cool movie. He talked about him in the podcast a lot. Recommend you listen to that podcast. And he talks about how he was at that point. Check this out, dude. As I mean, I wouldn't say Donald Faison's acting career has been prolific, but he does have a stamp in pop culture. He was in Scrubs. He was in Remember the Titans. He was in what else was he in? He was in Clueless. He was in a bunch of things, man. And at that point, he said that he was looking up to Tupac and said, "Man, he's such a great actor. I wish I could be like Tupac one day as far as acting goes." Yeah. And that was taken away from us, obviously, because he was murdered and whatnot.
I think he would have done more.
Exactly. But I was just thinking, like, man, this guy who had a really solid career at that point in time was like, man, Tupac is a really good actor. I need to see what he's doing to kind of get better myself. And where would Tupac have been, if he wasn't murdered? Where would he be at? What would he be able to do? You know what I'm saying? So it was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool. I love all that stuff. I love all that like behind the scenes stuff and them having conversations. He said, Donald Faison also said in that podcast that he saw Tupac the day he died, and he was at a party when Biggie died with Biggie too. So he on the same day. Yeah, he said it's something with him and rap that they're always going to be intertwined because he was there those days. And there was also something whenever Tupac had a fight with somebody at some party that he was at that party and he talked to Tupac that night too. So it's just crazy how everything is kind of like intertwined and how things worked out for him. But it was a pretty cool podcast. I'm probably like 3/4 of the way through, but every time I hear it, it's pretty interesting. And I just think it's pretty cool too because at the same time, they're rewatching the show and they're talking about the show and different things about the show. So
that's what I gotta jump on because I can't imagine. I can't wait till they get to the Guy Love episode where they're where the musical episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, so that they talk about it. They talk about it. They talk about it because they said that they were on a budget, and what Bill Lawrence would do, which I think was a producer, is he would skimp on some episodes and try to keep it in the hospital so that he can have bigger episodes like all the musicals and stuff like that, where they would be able to go off and do other things. But the name of the book that Shea Serrano wrote is called "Where Do You Think We Are?" Do you remember that?
Yeah. It's whenever what's Jordan's brother dies. And
Yeah, Brendan
but you
Fraser.
don't realize it. You don't realize it in the episode. You think he's alive the whole time, and that they're going to uh,
A birthday party or
Dr.
something.
Cox's birthday, Dr. Cox's little son's birthday party,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Where's your camera? Aren't you gonna take pictures of, so you take pictures, kids running around, cake and all that other stuff."
Hmm.
And he's like, and JD's like, "Where do you think we are?" Yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's an iconic scene. That's a heartbreaking scene.
dude.
You know how many
So
times I've
so
cried watching that show? Oh my god.
dude. So check this out, dude. So they were talking about it, and they were saying that they read his book, and
Hmm.
so the name of the book is "Where Do You Think We Are," and it's 10 illustrated essays about Scrubs. So he picks
Hmm.
certain things that he wants to write about. One of them is that, obviously, that's why his name. Where do you think we are? And they said we read the book, we read these essays, and we watched Scrubs way differently. When we're doing this rewatch, he's like, I went back and episode 133 too, I think is the time when they introduced Brendan Fraser, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And they were talking about it and how they see it differently now after reading that book, and that blew my mind. Like that to me, as far as Shea Serrano goes, just shows me how great of a that what they said is you're able to articulate what we're trying to get across better than how we got it across
Yeah.
through the book.
Hmm.
And that's the guys that were there. That's the guys that were acting it, that were in part of it. And they said it was a different lens that they watched this show with now after reading that book. So I definitely, if you're gonna
Yeah,
do a
because
rewatch on
even
it, huh?
I was like, see, even that episode has like that has at least a memorable line for me, is whenever he goes to the blood test, the guy who does the blood test, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, he's like, can you do it? I think you made a mistake. And
Oh
he's like,
yeah,
do you
yeah,
think I made
yeah.
a mistake? Do you think I made a mistake, or you just hope I made one? And he's like, kind of hope you did. He's like, all right, then I'll do the test. And I was like, I don't know why that line always gets me.
Yeah, dude, they talk about that too, man. I'm telling you, dude,
Yeah.
it feels like now that I know that you're like a big Scrubs fan,
Yeah.
get the book and then listen to the podcast, man, because I just think it's dope. And the thing too is Zach Braff and Donald Faison are so funny together, man, because I believe they're actual friends.
Yeah, I believe
And
they're actual like close friends.
yeah, and they talk about how they lived for 3 months together in the summer of 1991 or something,
Dang.
and it's just crazy. And it's funny because they have all these little inside jokes together. Like one of them says, "Oh, that Zach Braff told him you didn't even read the script for Garden State." He said, "No, I didn't read it." He goes, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I asked you, is there any black people in here?" And you said, "Yeah, there's two, but I already got him cast." It's like, so why am I going to read it?
That's true. That's true. I don't blame him.
It was funny, dude. It's funny. It's
That's
funny, man. It's definitely worth your time, man.
I'm definitely check that out.
I'll send you the link to it, so you
Yeah,
can
for
check it
sure,
out, man.
man.
But it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, Scrubs is one of my all-time shows. It's one of those ones that I like. There's like three shows lately that I've been rewatching that I always go back and rewatch. And I think I just added a fourth one, but the three ones I always go back and rewatch are How I Met Your Mother, New Girl, and they're all sitcoms. New Girl and Scrubs. And I think I just added that '70s show just because I've gone back and started rewatching it again. Because like,
What
so
about what about The Office,
good.
man?
See, the thing is, like, The Office, I've never gone back and rewatched. I've watched it all the way through once, and I mean, I think it's hilarious, and I just never actually have gone back. I've been considering going back to do it because I've gone back.
Dude,
I've gone back once. That
The
the
Office.
one that I can always go back and rewatch with my girl is it's Parks and Rec. She loves Parks and Rec, and I tried to get her to watch The Office, and she's like, I can't get past the first season. I was like, everybody says that it's fine. It's just I was like, it's the exact same problem that Parks and Rec had. I just told her I was like, but Parks and Rec learned their lesson faster than The Office did. The Office tried to make it exactly like the UK version was because UK humor is so bland. So
Yeah,
it's very much like it's very tongue in cheek, and you're it's a lot of those awkward moments. But and Parks and Rec first season is really bad. That first
yeah,
season of Parks and Rec is so bad.
yeah. But they fixed it. They fixed the Office like
Yeah,
halfway through season one because it wasn't landing like it was supposed to land.
yeah,
Dude,
and
I just sent you the link on there. We're gonna probably put it on our show's page and probably on our Twitter. But the name of the podcast is Fake Doctors, Real Friends with Zach and Donald.
See, yeah, I'm gonna check that out for sure because that's one that I always try to get my girl to watch it because she's like she usually likes things I like because she was like very hesitant about watching How I Met Your Mother, and I convinced her to watch that. And so I've gotten her. I actually was like watching a few episodes, like, and she was just around. I noticed she was watching them, but she won't like. It's one of those ones that she won't go and watch on her own. You know what I mean? Like I have to actually physically put it on and hope, and I can't even like say like, hey, you want to watch Scrubs? Because she'll just be like, no, I don't want to watch it. I have to like physically put it on and then hope that eventually she starts paying attention and watches it because she just won't do it.
I
But
think I
all right,
think
so
I
good.
think one thing I can share with you, out of 14 years of being married, man, is there's this little thing called I mean, there's two things you can use. You can use the exchange, which is
Hmm.
if you watch this for me, I'll watch that for you, which
Yeah,
has been very helpful
I've
for
tried that.
me. Okay, the second one is called the hostage, which is you don't watch whatever she wants you to watch until this is being watched. Something that's very important to her. You won't watch it. You won't do it. Both of them work. I use the hostage in very hostile instances when I need her to watch something and she doesn't want to watch it. But
Hmm.
normally we do the exchange. But that's gotten me, her the ability to watch The Office. She's watched The Office now, but it's caused me such pain as watching the Real Housewives of New Jersey. So it's a trade off,
Oh
man. It's a
no,
trade off.
yeah.
It's a trade off. You have to,
Sometimes
yeah,
you have to ask, is it worth it?
yeah.
It's got to be one of the. It's got to be one of those shows that you're like, you have to watch this show.
Yes, dude. Yes, exactly. And The Office to me is number one.
Yeah.
I feel like The Office is number one just because I worked in that setting, in an office setting like that for so long, and it just hit home almost every episode, man. It was just, I mean, it's just genius to me. And then
Hmm.
every character has their moments. Every character has their 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 pros and the reason why you love them. So it's pretty cool. But I'm struggling with her to watch some other shows right now. Like she still hasn't seen Breaking Bad. She hasn't seen Better Call Saul. She hasn't seen The
I haven't
Wire.
seen that. I haven't seen Better
You
Call
know,
Saul, and The Wire's one I always want to check out. I still haven't, but Breaking Bad to
dude,
me is a perfect show.
dude, Breaking Bad is legit. Better Call Saul is obviously not Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
However, it stands on its own, man. It's a really, really good show, man. It's a really good show.
Hmm.
The Wire, some people debate say that it's the best show ever made. Um, I don't know. I mean, I hate saying like absolutes like that because I'm not a Sith, a
Yeah,
Sith Lord, but it's
but
really it's really freaking good, man. I mean, it's really like season, and the thing too is people rank the seasons. Like season one gets you drawn in, but then season two is like it's just over. I mean, it's just awesome, man. There's so many things too. Like, what's his name? The guy that I forgot his name. Omar Little on there, dude. He's like one of the best characters that's ever come out in anything, and he has that great quote: "If you come for the king, you best not miss." That
it's
was that
true.
was that was from there, dude. So it's
Damn.
just there's a bunch of stuff on that show too, man. So definitely great shows to watch. I also sent you the thing real quick too on Shea Serrano,
Yes.
the book. 20
Hmm.
bucks. It's a PDF. You could print it out. I printed out mine that I purchased. I haven't read it. I have him backed up on a couple things I have to read, but he's a great writer, man. He got me into I think he got me into being able to write, like me saying, "Ah, man, I can write," because I don't know, just the way he writes is very accessible to a lot of people. It's very easy. It's very free
Yeah.
flowing, but it's also saying complex things. One of the things that he talked about, the reason why I started following him, and I'm gonna look for this one, but he wrote back whenever there was a website called The Ringer. He wrote man, it has to be like I don't know 3,000, 4,000 word essay or something like that on I don't know, maybe more, I don't know, maybe less. On you remember whenever Antonio Brown got suspended for twerking for when he caught a football,
I think so. Sounds
and
familiar.
so this is how I guess like in my mind crazy it is. He wrote about that, but he wrote it from no other angle that you can ever think of. He wrote it from the perspective of each pump of the twerk.
I
Yeah,
think I remember
so
you telling me that he's done some shit like that before.
dude, it's so like creative and unique, but it's also getting the point across. And he's saying for at least one night, football was fun again, and it wasn't the no fun league,
Yeah.
which at the time was it was a no fun league.
Yeah, it
So
was. It's gotten a little better now, but yeah, it was for a bit. So yeah, before we move on, I did watch. Let me see. I watched one, two, three, four, five, six movies in the past. week.
Oh, nice.
All ranging in different quality, I would say. So, worst one I watched was this trash movie I watched on Amazon Prime called Population 436. It's an interesting concept of like uh, there's a small town where the population is always at 436. It never goes up, never goes down, always stays there. And like there's something about like when you leave that area, when you leave the town, something happens and like you have an accident, you die. It's fucking crazy. It's weird, but it's not a good weird. It's like kind of like, man, this is so much potential, and it was just kind of great. It was a snooze fest. That's what I put on my
So
letterbox review.
great idea, not well
Bad
executed.
execution.
There
Yeah.
you go.
After that, I have The Woman in Black. It's okay. It's not. It's one of those. Also, it's another one of those, but it's much better than Population 436. But it's one of those ones where yeah, the it's an interesting concept, but it just kind of fell flat for me. The ending didn't quite get me. You have Freedom Riders, which is your typical
Saw that
feel
one.
good movie. It's still good. I think it's still good. It gets you in the feels, but it's extremely manipulative. It does it on purpose. Um,
I
the
don't like
next
it.
one, yeah, it's one of those ones where you're like, it's like if you ever watch This Is Us, it's like that. Like
Yes.
meant to make you cry, so that's what it does. Uh, the next one we rented. This is me and my girlfriend sat down and watched it. The Invisible Man.
Yeah. I saw that one already.
Love this movie. I love it. I love how they made it's just a person. It was extremely believable for how he was able to go invisible, but it still made him sound like a monster. Like the clicking
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
incredible. I don't know. And the music is fantastic.
Well, do not only that, but the cinematography too, where it's looking at a corner. Is he there? Is he not?
Oh yeah, and the whole
Where could he be at? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he
yeah.
sitting down? Is he on the stool? Is he hanging from the rafter? Like, that. I also, it's weird, but I loved it that he introduced the domestic violence piece of it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because that's so like there's so many conversations around stuff like that right now, and it just was right. It was right. Like, imagine somebody like that beats you like that, or harasses you or
Mhm.
puts you down like that, and then imagine them being able to be invisible and fuck with your life even more. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. You don't really
It-
see the end the results and like the trauma that people like that have to go through. It reminds me of, and it's not the same extent, but you ever saw The Strangers Pray at Night? The ending of that movie. So spoiler alert for if you haven't seen Strangers Pray at Night. The ending of that movie after the girl escapes, she's in the hospital, and she hears a knock on the door, and you're supposed to think, oh shit, the stranger survived, but no, it's supposed to be like, no, like she went through a traumatic event. She's gonna be dealing with that shit for the rest of her life.
exactly.
And same thing with her is like she's in like with Elizabeth Moss in that movie, and she's incredible. Uh, but she's gonna be dealing with that for the rest of her life. Like, and the fact that no one will believe her, that's basically a metaphor of like when women go to report that they've been abused or they've been harassed or they've been assaulted in any way, and no one believes them. Like that's like it was like a metaphor of that, because yeah, obviously they don't believe her because the person that she's accusing of doing it is supposed to be dead. uh,
Yeah.
so you're like, okay, yeah, I get it, but at the same time it's like that's what women in real life go through.
Yeah, dude, and the thing where, like, I really liked it too because I felt that it showed how powerful one person could be if they were actually invisible. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
man.
saying? Like, he goes through those police officers like nothing, dude. Like, they can't see it. He just shoots their leg and then shoots their head. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't
Hmm.
see where it's coming from. They can't fight back. They don't know what to do. The
Yeah,
same thing.
and
This. Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, and that ending, man, just had me like, what the fuck? And now I was like, that when a movie can do that to me, man, and because like it's so hard it's hard to do that to people nowadays because everything's been done. You think everything's been done,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's hard to be surprised. But like that ending was, and I never watched any like spoiler because there's one YouTube channel I like to watch called Foundflix, where he like talks about a bunch of horror movies and he'll break them down, literally go from beginning to ending and spoil the whole story. And if there's a movie that I know I'm not going to see or I don't care to see spoilers, I'll listen to it. And like it's a bunch of horror movies I've never seen or heard of that maybe I'll eventually get to, but maybe not. But there's that for that one. I was like, nope, not touching
Yeah.
it because that's definitely one I want to see.
Yeah, and the thing too about it is I follow that the writer and director Lee Wanell
Lee Winnell,
on
yeah.
Twitter,
Hmm.
and he did a like a live tweet session or whatever when it came out, and I had already
Yeah.
seen it. So I missed it, but I was still going back through the tweets, and he was just adding so much, what they thought about, what they were thinking when they were shooting it, some direction that he got from Elizabeth Moss, which he thought was pretty cool, like how she thought it'd be more impactful. I think they were talking about that scene where she was in the attic, how she kind of helped with that one. And then
Oh,
he put out like the first draft of the like planning stages of the Invisible Man, and he said it was going to be based on the man, solely the man, and how it evolved into what it is now, or what it ended up being, and how, basically not to discourage people from writing, and how things evolve, like how things
mhm.
have evolved, and how it made it that much better, and how it would have been so bad if he did it the other way, the first way, so
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see the people at the top and how they're thinking through processes, and what will be well received right now, like you said, because we've seen everything, and it's hard to scare us, and you have to rely on jump scares now, basically, instead of, like, I'm telling you, dude, I think that just looking at the corners or different parts of the room, as simple as that is, I don't think a lot of people would have done that, and I don't think a lot of people would have gotten the effect that it got, because I thought it was freaking fantastic. Like, oh, the director put the camera here for a reason. Are we supposed to? Is he
See
there? Are we?
something? Yeah.
Yeah. Or, and then when he said, it's to let you know how difficult it is to see an invisible person, and to kind of let you know that you can't see him. He's probably there, but we're not going to tell you if he is or not. That's up to you to
Mhm.
kind of come to conclusion of. So it's just a great movie, man. I feel, and the thing that sucks about it is that it came out during the pandemic. I mean,
I
it came out 1 week before, basically. So it didn't get the legs that it was gonna get. But I
Yeah.
feel, a year, two, five down the road, we're gonna look back on it like we've been looking back on Get Out. Like it's one of those really good movies that we just didn't appreciate as much right now because of what we're dealing with. But it's a really great movie, man.
Yeah, man. And honestly, but also because of the pandemic, Elizabeth Moss might be up for an Oscar for this movie.
That's true too, man. That's true too. She did really
There's so
well.
much to choose from, but she's fantastic. Like I think I told my girl, like when she was fighting with him while he was invisible in the house, like
Yeah.
that's incredible acting. Like because she's not actually fighting with anybody. Like she's not actually having to. It's not like put somebody in a maybe they did, but
They
I'm
had
assuming that is
they had a green screen actor.
on top of her, like during that
Yeah,
scene.
yeah. He wasn't
Okay,
all green. He wasn't all
okay,
green. Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's her. She has to like, but she has to like make it seem like she can't see him. And because
Exactly.
my girl was like, well, that isn't. She's like, I was like, that was a great scene. She was like, I don't know. She looked kind of like she was like she didn't know what she was doing. I was like, yeah, how would you look fighting someone that you can't see? And she's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I was like, exactly. Like she looked bad on purpose.
Exactly.
Uh,
It looked kind of like dumb and cumbersome at some points, right? Like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like, but you can't see the guy, so what are you gonna
nope,
do? That's exactly how
exactly.
you're gonna do.
That's how I told her. All right, so that was five. So number six, uh, Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh yeah.
Rewatched it. I love that movie. The movie gets me so much. It hits me hard. There's a point I told my girl, I was like, is it? I was like, how many times? Or I was like, have you ever been watching a movie and there's a part that you know you're getting to that you're like, I don't want to watch this again. It's
Hmm.
that scene where it's the truth or dare, and he takes dare, and he says, I dare you to kiss the prettiest girl in the room, and
And
he's dating
he,
that one girl, and
and
he
he
kisses her.
kisses.
And I was like, oh, I just don't watch. But then it leads to like that other. It leads to the other stuff where you're like, he's constantly like asking, he's trying to get a hold of his friends, like saying like, can we hang out? Can we hang out? And they're like, no, like can't, like don't come here, don't you can't hang out. And like that, you see him start to break down like that. That's the whole like leading up into that. So you're like, even though that like yeah, that seems cringy, it's the catalyst of like of how he ends up at the end of the movie. And you're
Yep.
like, oh fuck, dude, like it always gets me. And then when you find out what happened with his aunt, oh, it's just sad. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, man. I recently saw it. I probably want to say like 2 months ago. Um, Again, and I felt
Hmm.
the same way. Like, but I feel too, as I'm older, I see it differently now too. Like you said, that one scene is a catalyst, but then you also see that his girlfriend at that time ends up in a better situation.
Yeah,
So like stuff like that, like you start seeing differently. Like, man, it's been, and then I started thinking too, like, well, come on, man. I mean, who would pick besides her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's such a good movie, man. I enjoy it. I enjoy watching it every once in a while as well.
Yeah.
But definitely a good movie, man. Real quick too, you mentioned a bad movie, and I remembered I saw this one. This was late night. I couldn't go to sleep. I went back and I saw Starship Troopers, and that's such a bad movie that it's a good movie.
Oh yeah, it's
Because
so.
it's
Oh yeah, it's a great movie.
and it's
It's
just
so
so
bad.
it's so funny too. Like, want to learn more? Click here. Want to learn more? Like, it has those breaks and like, all right,
Oh
dude.
yeah, man.
But
The scene where they're doing the test or like the training,
yeah,
and one of them takes their fucking helmet off.
and
They
he
take
just
their
blows
helmet
your
off.
head up.
I was like, oh my god!
Yes, dude.
And then they just kind of skip over it, like it just goes to the next scene, like
Well,
that didn't
dude,
matter at all.
whenever they get to that the trap planet, and they
Oh
got
yeah.
that guy with his cranium open, and he just sticks his hand in there and goes like this, or like in his
Oh my
brain,
god. Yeah.
and then when you see the brain bug, kill that dude with, it's just crazy. I mean, it was very
Dude.
gory. I remember watching it when I was younger. I've always thought it was cool. Like, it's a cool concept. It was a book. It's supposed to be one of the greatest, sci-fi books, made or ever done.
Really? Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Who made
and,
it? Who made the
uh,
movie?
I don't
Do you know?
remember, dude. I gotta look it up, man. But
The author's probably like, what the hell?
well, no, the author's I think passed away. It's an old book, man.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I
It's
didn't know it was a book.
yeah, dude. It was dude. It's a Heinlein book, dude. Robert Heinlein. You know who Robert Heinlein is?
No.
Dude, he's one of
What
the
else has he written?
originators. Well, he's one of the originators of sci-fi, dude. This book came out in 1959, dude.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's military sci-fi. November 5th, 1959 is whenever it was done by Robert Heinlein. Let me see what other books he's done so you can kind of know who this guy is.
Yeah, because I've been like listening to I was before this whole stuff happened with me getting sick was I was listening to H.P. Lovecraft. I actually got with one of my tokens from Audible. I got the complete collection of H.P. Lovecraft stories. So I've just started that. I'm listening to At the Mountains of Madness, I believe it's called, which is like one of his like bigger works where it's more it like really gets into detail about some of the cosmic beings that H.P. Lovecraft is famous for. Because I've always heard about cosmic horror, always been so interested in it, like especially like Cthulhu. Like Cthulhu's a like cool concept.
The Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, man. Like, so I've always been like interested in like I like I guess like body horror, but in terms of like one of my favorite scenes in horror movies is the scene from The Mist with the tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's such a great scene. And I don't know, I'm like fascinated by things like that. It like freaks me out, weirds me out. I'm also like one of my favorite animals is octopus, so I guess maybe the tentacle things is like it reaches out to me. But H.P. Lovecraft is definitely someone that I've been enjoying lately.
Okay, so real quick for Heinlein. Heinlein is usually identified along with Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke as one of the three masters of science fiction to arise in the so-called golden age of science fiction, the 1950s to the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
So this was Starship Troopers. Let me see. Let me tell you who the person who did it is. The movie, which came out in 1997, dude.
Yep, Casper Van Dien.
Yeah, that's
Denise Richards and
directed was Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven, I've heard of him. Yeah,
he has made RoboCop.
That's right. So the guy who made RoboCop made freaking Starship Troopers.
He also made Total Recall, Basic Instincts, Showgirls, Hollow
that's
Man.
Why. By that point, he was making trash movies.
Yeah, that's
Showgirls
true.
is so bad. But like the first three you name off, like RoboCop, Basic Instinct,
and Total Recall.
And Total Recall, you're like classic, and then you say Showgirls. I was like, oh, there it is.
I mean,
there's a turn.
Showgirls is a classic too for other reasons.
Yeah, for other reasons. But that pool scene's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Do you remember that scene? That's ridiculous. Like, that's not even hot. That's just
dude. He made Hollow Man. Hollow Man
Gosh.
was like the precursor of yeah, the precursor of what's it called? The Invisible Man.
Yeah, well, I mean, Invisible Man was back in like the 20s.
Yeah, well, I mean, the story was done by H.G. Wells in 1897,
Hollow Man.
but yeah, I'm just saying it was like the new age version of the Invisible Man with Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon
that's
in it.
true. Yeah, and like going invisible, what drives them crazy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
because
it. All right.
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. So the last movie I saw, the best movie I saw all week, and I'm so mad at myself for not seeing it sooner. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
That
you hadn't seen
I
that one,
hadn't
man?
seen it. I watched it on
Oh,
my TV in the room, so it's very big. It's raised up. It's and everything. And man, I love this movie. I love what they did with it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful. That's the only way I can describe it. Whenever I first watched it, I told my girl, I was like, "It's a beautiful movie. The colors, the purple, the green, the red, all the black, all of it put together. Oh, it's amazing."
hmm
So yeah, dude, that's amazing. I hope they do a sequel. Please
they
do
are.
every
They are. They're making
yeah,
a
do
sequel to it. It got greenlit because it got such great
nonstop
reviews. I think it won a
forever.
Oscar for best
It
animated
got best
film.
animated feature. It
Yeah,
probably should have been nominated for best film.
yeah, dude.
You could do 10. You can do 10 films in the best film category.
That should have
So
been
I feel like
one.
it should have been in there. I'm pretty sure they didn't fill up all 10
Yeah,
because they rarely fill up all 10.
yeah.
Even
So
though the Oscars did change that for this next upcoming or for the upcoming future is that 10 films is always going to be has to always be filled up for best film.
okay,
Like they're
that's
gonna
awesome, man.
always fill up 10 films because they always like do like, oh, 7, 8, 9. They never go 10. It's like you have that extra one, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just pick them.
Uh, so dude, we watched that movie at the drive-in,
Mm-hmm.
and even in the drive-in, because the drive-in doesn't have the best um
Not the best
view.
screen.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
best screen, the best colors, and it looked freaking phenomenal on there either way, dude.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a little bit more about because it's based. I mean, it's obviously Miles Morales, Spider Man, right?
Yep.
So I've
Fantastic.
been so the first appearance of Miles Morales in the comic book is called Ultimate Fallout #4.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been wanting to buy this book forever, dude, forever and ever and ever. And I just been hesitant to pull the plug on it or pull the trigger on it. And I was finally gonna get it like last week or the week before last, before the PlayStation thing came out, the PlayStation PS5, whatever. And it was
Yeah.
around $200, dude. $200. The PlayStation thing comes out with the new Miles Morales Spider-Man video game coming out, and that thing skyrockets to over $450. So I'm like, why? What? And what that
Because
means
of
is,
the
well,
oh, good.
it's this generation Spider-Man. It's going to be Miles Morales. It's not
Yeah,
going
and
to
that's
be Peter Parker.
yeah, and
You
that's
know
why
what I'm
they
saying?
introduced the upcoming game with PS5. PlayStation 5. The next Spider-Man game is gonna be Miles Morales. I think it's just called Spider-Man Miles Morales, right?
Yeah, that's what it's
Uh,
called. And so
So
that's what I'm
and it's
saying.
supposed to be like a tie-in. It's going to be like the not a direct sequel, but it's supposed to be a tie-in to the Spider-Man game that came out on PlayStation. And then the sequel is going to try to like I guess tie him in
Tie both of
to it.
them in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is gonna be fun.
So it's this new generation Spider-Man, man, and that's why that comic book is worth so much. That's why everything that Miles Morales Spider-Man touches is gonna be worth so much. And even my son loves Into the Spider-Verse. We've seen it now that it's been on Netflix. Yeah, it's been on Netflix. We've seen it. Is it on Netflix? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's why I watched it.
Yeah, we've seen it like legitimately 3 or 4 times since it came out on there, dude. Just because
Mhm.
it's that good, just because we see different things, like the whole Prowler thing is pretty cool.
Dude, the way they
The
did him too, it was awesome.
Yeah, Kingpin is in there. Like these
Yeah,
villains are
it's
in there.
Scorpion, Tombstone. You have Olivia Octavius
Yeah,
instead of Otto.
the other Doc Ock, it's pretty cool,
Yeah,
dude. And then the Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man Noir is
yeah.
so
Nick
cool.
Cage.
Yeah, dude, that's just dope, dude. So it's just really interesting, man. That there's some debates in it. That's the best Spider-Man movie ever.
It's my best
Uh,
Spider-Man movie. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
it's
That's
just
my
crazy.
number one ranked movie because I've been ranking all the movies that I've been watching lately. And before now, Planet of the Apes, the original, was my number one. with 4.5. But with this one, I gave it 5 out of 5. Man, it's a perfect movie to me. There's nothing wrong with it. The pacing's perfect. I think it picks up. It starts right away, and it gets you enthralled in it. When Peter Parker dies, you're like, wait, what the hell? But then, you get the other Peter Parker, which Jake Johnson, fantastic as
Yes,
that Peter Parker.
You're gonna pay for. You're gonna eat those fries. You're gonna pay for that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like Nick. My girl was like listening to it when I was watching it. She was like, "Is that Nick Miller?" I was like, "Cause from New Girl, I was like, that's Nick Miller." Well, yeah, he's Peter Parker. He's awesome, but he's Peter B. Parker, not Peter Parker.
Dude.
Sorry.
It's legit, man. It's legit. It's a really good movie, man. And the other thing too about that movie is that movie almost didn't come to fruition. It was over budget. And Sony just said, just make it happen. And they gave their artists free range, which is why it came out the way it came out. And I'm hoping, because they made a big fuss about it, the artists did, like, this is what happens when you let us do what we want to do.
Yeah. Wait, so you're saying like less tinkering by the people that aren't artistic, that aren't creative, makes it a good movie? No way.
I mean, I know it's hard to believe, man.
That's
I know
it's
very hard. I know it's nothing you've ever done, or nothing any of these bean counters will ever allow to happen in the future. But that's exactly what happened, man. They let them carte blanche, and they made a freaking masterpiece, man. Basically, what it is, a masterpiece.
I refuse to believe that's what happened. I'm pretty sure that Amy Pascal had everything to do with that. I don't even know if she's still. I think she is still, actually.
I don't think she's there anymore.
I don't know. Maybe. I know it said Pascal Entertainment in the.
Did it? Oh, then I mean, she had something to do with it.
All right. Well, that's enough of the movie stuff. Let's get into. We'll jump into Blaze versus Volkov. We're gonna go through a few things, and we're not gonna break down every single fight because a lot of them went the distance. Even though they were like a lot of them were good fights, but we don't need to break down everything, especially when some of them don't really. Some of the results don't necessarily matter. But first off, this is the one I really want to talk about here. Austin Hubbard versus Max Roshkoff. This is the one that I sent you immediately because I don't even think you were watching it. And I remember watching this, and I was like, "Wait, what the hell happened?" Because I think I went to the restroom. I come back.
Oh, that's right.
The third round wasn't starting, and apparently it's because he basically said he didn't want to continue. And this is one thing you wanted to talk about because his corner is actually being investigated. I don't know if they still are, but I know at the time that we were talking about it, his corner was going to be investigated for making him go out there and fight when he didn't want to fight anymore. Which I asked you is like, has this happened before? What's going on? What do you think? Because to me, I think he had some kind of maybe he suffers from some kind. I told you, I was like, maybe he suffers from some kind of self-esteem problem because he was saying when he was sitting down, call it. I don't got it. He's got me. I don't got it. Like, call it. Like, he looked like he didn't, like, because he wasn't winning, he didn't even want to continue. Whereas the majority of fighters that we've seen, even if they're losing 2 rounds, they're like, all right, well, now I got to go out there and get a knockout, or I got to go get a finish. But in his eyes, he just knew that he didn't have it, or maybe he got hurt. I don't know. But what do you think?
So many layers to this, man. I mean, just on the face of it, it looks bad. Just because that's what we're hardwired to. Like you said, we've seen 99 out of 100, or 999 out of 1,000, or 999 million out of 100 million, whatever. Fighters say, okay, you're losing, but you're gonna have to use this one to knock him out. Use this round to go 100% fifth gear, whatever, to take him out. Because you need to finish, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've also said that we've seen it where guys should have quit before, like with that Gifford guy.
Yeah,
Gifford,
man, that was bad.
Gifford could have ended up. Yeah, exactly. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you can't fault the guy for knowing his limitations and saying, I don't want any more. I'm done. I don't got it. I don't got it tonight. He's a better man tonight. I either didn't train enough, or didn't train hard enough, or don't have the skill set right now to beat this man. I don't want to go out there and get knocked out cold. I want to fight another fight. I want to save myself to fight more. Lose the battle, win the war, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my thought process initially, and then also, we don't know him better than the corner knows him. The corner is there for a couple of reasons, right? They're there to protect the fighter. They're there to give the fighter the best advice to win the match, to win the fight, and they're there also to motivate. We don't know if this guy quits every training session. They have to motivate him to keep going. We don't know. We don't know any of that stuff. That's why I'm sure they're going to do an investigation. But it's also incumbent on the coach and on the corner to say, hey man, if you say something like this, we're going to call a fight. So you can't say this whenever we're out there fighting. You can't say call it and then be mad later saying, why did you let me call it? I get insecure about this. And maybe they shouldn't even be fighting if they have those doubts in their mind, man. I've told you before, as soon as a fighter starts having doubts and starts saying they're going to retire or they can't do something, it's done. You know what I'm saying? So maybe this kid is not a fighter. Maybe this kid is not. And it's sad to say that because I'm telling you, we're hardwired to think that way. But it just doesn't look right from a fighter for the fighter to call the fight himself, and then the corner to be so adamant, like you said, it makes it look like he has low self-esteem, like they have to motivate this guy to fight, like they have to motivate this guy to go back out there. Then he shouldn't be fighting, and that's not saying like him quitting is all he shouldn't be fighting. It shouldn't take a corner this much motivation to get you off your seat to fight if you still have fight in you, and they should know when you can quit, or when you've given everything. Like that corner should have seen him coming out after the second round and said, man, this is enough. White towel, this guy doesn't have it today. We'll go back and regroup. Not a big deal, whatever. But they weren't. They were trying to push him out there, and I think that's kind of where that gray line is. Like, man, and that's why they're being investigated, man, because it just didn't look right, man. It just didn't look right.
Are they forcing him to fight, or what's going on? Like, does he even not want to do this? Because like you said, we said, most fighters want to be out there and they want to go out on their shield. Anthony Smith said the exact same thing. Tony Ferguson, Eddie Bravo had to explain.
But and check this out too. In fairness, with Anthony Smith was talking out of one side of his mouth and talking out of the other, the same thing. He said that refs are there to save the fighter, to protect the fighter. Refs are there to protect the fighter, and he's upset at the ref because he stopped the fight early, in his opinion. But he just said that refs are there to protect the fighter. So again, man, I don't think that fighters are the best ones to be indicating when they've had enough of a beating, man. Because guys like Tony, like, dude, if it's me, man, I would have stopped the fight earlier with Tony Ferguson, because he was taking so much damage. He's been in so many wars. Just stop the fight. He's not gonna win the fight, man. You just stop the fight and he'll fight another day, and you have him less beat up. Like you have him less down on himself. He didn't take as much damage from Gaethje, who has freaking steel in his hands, man, who has bombs in his hands, and the same thing for Smith. His corner was jacked up too. They should have stopped that fight. That's the other thing, man, that there's not enough fights stopped by the corner when they know they should stop it. And it's so difficult for corners that have been working with them for 8 weeks, 3 months. They know their family, they know everybody, and they know how important it is for them to win, to stop them from winning, because then they get the blame. They get the brushback or the issues that go along with it, man. But you're there to protect the fighter, man, and you want them to be able to fight in the future and not get their speech slurred, or not get their quality of life at the end of their life lesser than what it has to be, and I think that's where there's an issue with the corners in boxing and MMA and any fight, any combat sport. There's just there needs to be more of a delineation, which I don't know how that would be. I don't know the answer to it, but there needs to be more separation, because it sucks, man. It sucks that and that's the other thing too. I keep saying the corner. What about the ref too, man? The ref should have something in his mind saying, or there should be something outlined, like an accumulation of punches, accumulation of damage. And you can say, hey, man, in the second round, you took a lot of damage. I'm not going to allow the same amount of damage to be taken this round. You've taken too much. So if it's the second part of this last round, if it starts off the same way, I'm stopping the fight. Yeah. And that lets the fighter know, like Anthony Smith, I can't just turtle up and take punches. I'm protecting myself, but I'm taking even more damage. I can't let that happen. Maybe that's what needs to be happening in the future. But and the thing is, we've seen more and more of it, man. I don't know if you noticed. Before this stuff started happening, we didn't have as many of those, but now I guess fighters are more open to having those type of conversations, that we're starting to see more, and not maybe too because of the ESPN deal. More eyeballs are on it, more pressures on the fighters to fight. We're starting to see more of these issues come up where fighters continue to fight when they probably shouldn't, and their corners are letting them fight. And we're also seeing, the mistakes that refs make, in a bigger light now, and they're maximized now. So it's all coming to a head at one time, man. There needs to be some sort of reform in the sport of MMA.
Yeah, maybe, man. Maybe we'll see. We'll see going forward. But once again, here, Austin Herbert really needed this win. I think he lost his last fight. So this one he really needed, and I'm pretty sure it's really helped his confidence. Max, I don't know, man. Go back to the drawing board, figure out if this is really what you want to do.
Exactly.
And if it is, because there's nothing that I saw in terms of skill, man. Like his skill looks to be there. It's just something in the head, something inside your psyche. Go back to the drawing board, figure it out. Next up, we got a women's flyweight fight. Roxanne Modafferi taking on Lauren Murphy. 6 versus 7. Not that it honestly wasn't very much of an exciting fight for me. It was kind of like Lauren Murphy gets the win. It's kind of back and forth. Really, it wasn't, but not by split decision. I think it was 2 rounds to 1. But Lauren Murphy getting the win there by decision. Next up here, you have lightweight Frank Camacho, Justin James. Justin James getting a big knockout in the first round, knocking him out on the feet. Good stuff right there. And I think Camacho even missed weight, so I believe Justin James got that extra money.
Yeah.
But hold on, let me check. I didn't even look at the performance bonuses. Hold on.
While you're looking that up, Jillian Robertson beat Courtney Casey by submission in round 3.
Yes, impressive. I think it was Jillian Robertson looked really good. Once she got her to the ground, man, that what was it? It wasn't a choke. Was it an armbar?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either, but she got it out of nowhere and just got her, but she was destroying her on the ground in the entire time. Justin James got the performance of the night bonus for that one. For that knockout, so good on him.
Well deserved.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, Jillian Robertson getting the win by submission over Courtney Casey. Here's a big knockout here. Marc-Andre Barriault taking out Oscar Piechota. And I'm going to tell you right now, Piechota did not look like he belonged in that ring with Barriault. Barriault just faster, stronger than him. So big win by Barriault there. Anything you want to say on that one?
No, I mean, I don't even think I saw that fight. Just the knockout. But I did see the Tisha Torres Van Buren fight.
Yeah, this one, unfortunately, Van Buren just was outmatched in every aspect. It looked like I think she had that first takedown. She had that one takedown in the first round.
And that was it, right?
Other than that, and Tisha Torres was able to get up and even because I think at first it was that takedown. I was like, okay, she won this round, but then Tisha Torres gets back up and starts laying into her. And dude, Tisha Torres is a hell of a striker.
It's just I feel like she's undersized. She's small. She's so short. Small, dude.
Short, especially for the strawweight division. Like to say someone's small in the strawweight division, like if you're smaller than, she might be like the same size as Namajunas, and if you don't have the same skill set as Namajunas, like you're gonna struggle because I think Namajunas is small, but she's a killer.
But she's lean too, like she's longer than Tisha Torres.
Exactly. Like Tisha Torres looks, she's short. She doesn't have a long reach. The kicks are there, the punches are there, but like you said, like she just is.
She struggles with longer fighters.
Maybe if there was an atom weight division, she'd be the champ. But it's just something about this is not good enough for me. But I mean, she looked good in this fight.
Yep, she needed it too because she was like on a 3-fight losing streak or something crazy like that.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Clay Guida versus Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green realized after the first round, they're like, this dude doesn't stop moving.
Nope.
Because everyone knows Clay Guida is known for constantly moving, constantly jumping around. That's normally why he can get beat sometimes though, because he'll be ducking and he'll duck into something or he'll go right like he did against Jim Miller in his last fight, go right into a guillotine. Yep. But in this one, it was a good fight. 2 guys, Bobby Green, Clay Guida, willing to bang and willing to go to the ground. It wasn't nothing spectacular, but it was one of those ones you can just sit down, watch, and it's a good fight.
Yeah, and I was having a discussion with my buddy about this one. Like, this is a perfect example of good matchmaking. I don't know. Like I've always said that maybe there needs to be like what is it called? Like an older division, like the older division. And
Yeah,
these guys are prime candidates for that. They're really not gonna, ever challenge for the championship ever again. And I don't want them, like in my personal opinion, being fed to young lions. Like Frankie. Well, no, not Frankie. Who was it? BJ Penn got fed to Yair Rodriguez. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like I don't want to
yeah,
see that. I want to see them with guys that are their skill set. And if they're still able to fight, like if they're not able to fight, if they're too old, if they're too shot, then that's it, man. Just say, hey, we can't give you any fights. But if they still got some juice in them, something left in the tank, by all means, match them up against another guy that got still something have. They still have something in the tank. Maybe even at catch weight. Who
yeah.
knows?
That's what I was about to ask. Make that like a catchweight division where everyone that's
Yeah,
just not going to be competing for their title go to that catchweight and try to
yeah,
fight some people around there. And I would say
yeah.
one of the guys that will probably be in there is this next guy who was probably supposed to be fed to this young guy, but then got the win.
Exactly,
Is Jim
exactly.
Miller. So Jim Miller, Roosevelt Roberts, as we saw Roosevelt Roberts tapping out and submitting Brock Weaver in his last fight, looked impressive, and then goes up
Mhm.
against goes against Jim Miller and falls right into that armbar. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't even see the tap out.
Well,
That's
dude,
how
I
quick it
mean,
was.
yeah, it was pretty fast. But what I will say, I feel like Roosevelt Roberts and some of these other guys, I'll even put Gilbert Burns in this category, got this what I call pandemic mindset, which
Mm-hmm.
is just feed me whoever. I'm better than them. I'm more prepared than them, and I'm gonna beat them. And that's kind of what happened. I mean, he fought what? He fought like 3 weeks ago when he fought Brock Weaver, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, and
And
like I think he may wait for 155, right? For
yeah,
that fight. So
yeah,
this one
yeah,
was at
yeah.
160.
Okay, and you turn around and you fight Jim Miller, dude. And Jim Miller, he's had his ups and downs, but he's a veteran. He's a fighter. He's a gamer. Like he's not a scrub. He has
Mm-hmm.
very very good jujitsu. Like you
Yeah,
need time to prepare for a guy like this, man.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the one mistake that he made that would ruin the whole thing? He slipped.
Yep.
You threw an errant kick, you slipped and
Slip,
fell down, and Jim Miller pounced on you, and that was it.
and that's how tough it is at the higher levels, man. That's what I'm saying. It's that pandemic mindset. Like, oh, just I gotta fight. Dana says we need to fight. They need fights. I'm hot. I'm on a win streak. I feel good. I'm in shape. I just beat Brock. I handled him up. Let me get another feather in my cap with Jim Miller, aging MMA fighter, maybe a little shot born, and I'll get this easy dub. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the
Nope.
drawing board, man. Back to the drawing board.
Absolutely, that's the thing. And then the thing about gatekeepers is if you can't pass up the gatekeepers, man, you gotta go back down. You gotta go start fighting. You better hope Brock Reaver wants to fight again.
Well, and,
Because
and here's the thing, man. And here's what I'll say. I'll say on a regular camp, Roosevelt Roberts probably beats Jim Miller. I don't know,
mm,
6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 times. You know, and
yeah,
that's what sucks. He got lost there now, and he lost to the gatekeeper. So now he has to work his way back up to another different gatekeeper. You
yeah,
know what I'm
it's not like
saying?
you lost to the top. It's not like you lost to the top talent in the division. You lose to the top talent in the division. It just says, okay, you're not ready quite yet. Go down and eat some of these, the lower rank, the 10 through 15 guys. But if you can't even break that top 15 yet, tell you gotta eat these unranked guys before you can break that top 15.
Yep.
And you already
Yep.
know how important that number is next to your name.
It's super important now.
All right. Next up, welterweight. This is my sleeper for fight of the night. If I'm not mistaken, that I mentioned last time, Bilal Muhammad and Lyman Good, and
Mhm.
it almost didn't disappoint. The only reason it didn't disappoint, I mean, the only reason it disappointed is because we got an even better fight of the night.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, and we talked about it too on the previous on the first episode of
hmm,
Arm Bars and Suplexes.
those are the
Bilal
two
Muhammad
contenders.
versus Lyman Good. Yeah. And dude, this was such a good scrap, dude. This was such a
Yeah,
good scrap. Very power versus mobility and precision versus just trying to knock your block off. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it eventually, and this is how it always is, man. I'll say this. This is how it always is. Power, if you give it enough time, will eventually catch up to you. So you can't give it time. You gotta either get in, get out, and finish it or submit them or something, or figure out a way to stay away from the power. Because in the third round, Lyman Good almost pulled off this comeback. I wouldn't call it an
Yeah, he
upset
did.
because I feel that they're very well matched. But
Mhm.
he almost pulled off this comeback, and Muhammad was tired. He got hit hard, and dude, I thought he was gonna go out, man. I was like, no.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I thought like because the fight was pretty close. I was like, man, did he do enough in that third round to win it? But I mean,
Mm.
Bilal Muhammad still came out with a win, big win, dude. And this one that I would love to see these two guys run it back if they ever decide to, because it was a great fight.
It was a great fight, man. Bilal Muhammad is a funny character and a um, up and coming fighter. Not only fighter, but like I mentioned, a character. He
Hmm.
has a good shtick, and he does a lot of stuff on social media. He pulls a lot of pranks. He makes fun of people, but then he can also back it up in the ring. You know, he's
Yeah.
fighting a lot smarter now. He's very technical now. He knows what he's doing.
Hmm.
He's kind of elevating himself from a prospect kind of to like a mid-tier guy, a mid-level guy, learning like how to win and how, like right now, I can tell you right now, he's learned from this fight. You know, he's not gonna get beat up like that in the third round. He's gonna either get better and have better
Yeah.
stamina. But I'm very interested to see what Muhammad does because he did have a ugly loss earlier in his career. I gotta look it up.
Yeah. I will say another thing is it's probably got to help his confidence knowing that you can take some big hard shots like that and still
When
pull
you
through to the end of the fight.
when you're that tired too. When you're
Yeah,
that tired.
because he was taking some big old shots from Lyman. Lyman's a big dude, man. There's a reason they call him the cyborg. And so for nicknames, I think I got number one. It's remember the name.
Remember the name, Bilal.
It's
Remember the
remember the
name.
name. But I'll remember the name Muhammad. Like that's a great nickname. It
So
is more of a Nick phrase because not
it's
it's
not a
long.
nickname.
Yeah, it's a long phrase, but it's a great one.
So he has a bad loss to Vicente Luque by knockout. I remember
Mhm.
that was 4 years ago, and then he has a decision loss, which is actually a good loss because he lost to Jeff Neal by decision, and we
Yeah.
both know Jeff Neal's no joke, man.
Nope. Yeah, man. So you want to hear the numbers on this one? Did you see them? Um, so in strikes, total strikes, Bilal Muhammad lands 86 of 176, and Lyman Good lands 84 of
Oh,
175. And then wait for this one. For significant strikes, Bilal Muhammad 82 of 172, and Lyman Good 81 of 172.
there you go, man. This was a very very even matchup, man.
The
Even
difference,
matchup.
two takedowns. Two
Yeah,
takedowns landed by Bilal. However, um, Lyman Good stuffed six of them.
yeah. I mean,
It's crazy, man.
that's one of the things too that I go back to. They call octagon control. I think stuffing takedown should actually count for more than it does because
And
it's octagon
uh,
control, man.
yeah, and
You know?
Bisping said that. I think Bisping or Dominic, I don't know which one, said that a lot of times the judges don't count for takedown defense, and they should.
They should, man. I mean, octagon control is basically controlling where the fight ends up or where the fight is fought at. And
Hmm.
if you can stuff a takedown, you're saying I'm not gonna fight this fight on the ground. We're fighting it standing up, and that's you
Yeah,
controlling the octagon. You know?
and you just hurt that guy, and you just hurt that guy's confidence. Now he
Yeah.
knows, oh fuck, I can't just take him down at ease. Now I'm not to work for every single takedown because like when someone takes down someone, it's super easy. Like that's the end of the fight to me. Like
Mhm.
that you basically just destroy. Like everything that you need to know about that guy now.
Yep.
But when you stuff a guy, you could see a fighter's confidence go down if they get stuffed on a takedown.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It happens even at the highest level. I think I've even seen DC get discouraged once one of his takedowns didn't happen.
Yeah. I forgot to mention the other performance bonus went to Jim Miller for his submission on Roosevelt.
Yeah. That's probably kind of like a wink and a nod to the
Yeah.
veteran that probably needs cash, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, another really I think just really outmatched people is Tisha Torres' girlfriend, Raquel Pennington, Marion Reno. Raquel Pennington was just piecing her up every chance she got. The only thing she didn't get was the finish, but she pieced her
Yeah.
up from bell to bell, basically.
From pillar to post, she
Yeah, man, it was bad.
beat the brakes off of her. And the thing about Pennington is actually something that we're gonna eventually get into in this podcast is, she just loses to the top tier, but everybody else above that, below that, I would say she beats up. She just
Yeah.
can't. She just can't take that little extra step to get to the top and be a champion. But
Yeah.
again, she's fighting at 130, 135, right, bantamweight for her,
Yep.
which is Amanda Nunes
Nunes.
territory. So
She can't get past Holly Holm because her last loss was against Holly Holm in decision.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
She's stuck
man.
there.
All right, and fight of the night right here. Josh Emmett, Shane Burgos. Josh Emmett getting the win, but at what cost? The fact that he tore his ACL,
Tore his
basically blew
ACL.
up his knee, right?
He tore his ACL. He had what is it, like a slight tear of his MCL. He has a fracture of his femur, so he has a broken femur. Um, he has a burst, like some sac burst in his knee, which was collecting liquid from a previous injury. So yeah,
Yeah,
dude, this dude. I mean, he's gonna have. I mean, I think he's already had all kinds of surgery. He has a broken femur. I mean, he's out
yeah,
probably 12 to 18 months, man. Year to
yeah.
year
And
and a
get
half.
this, he's 35 years old, man.
35 years old, on a great run,
Hmm.
and this is probably one of the biggest losses in a win that I've seen in a long time, man.
Yeah, definitely. This is a great fight. Him and Shane Burgos going back and forth. Burgos was eating up that leg, man. I
Yep.
was getting worried about that leg after a while, and then whenever you find out what happens, you're like, "Oh, okay, I had every right to be worried." It's just Josh Emmett's a tough mother to
Dude, well, he
fight through
he
that.
he tore his ACL in the first round, dude,
That's crazy, man.
and he
And you don't
and
even
he
see, honestly, I don't ever see him like limping on it, like
he
to
just did it
be,
once. He did it once when it happened, and he kind of
yeah,
shook his leg off, and then he went back to fighting.
dude,
Tough
monster
guy,
machine.
tough guy. Shane Burgos is crazy too. Shane Burgos gets knocked down,
Hey,
with
man.
and he starts laughing while he's going down.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's how you know you're in for a good fight, man. I think at a couple points where he like they smiled at each other, really like, all right, let's
when
do this.
yeah, this was a great fight, man. This is also was a high level fight. Both of them very well
Hmm.
rounded, very well matched. It could have gone either way, honestly. It could have gone either way. I'm saying as far as before the fight, but
Yeah,
during the fight, I feel Emmett did pull away. Emmett won that fight, but like I said, it sucks because he's gonna be out for a while.
yeah, man. But also with Shane Burgos, even though he has two losses in a row, I don't
Yeah.
I don't put too much. I don't take too much away from him. I guess because of the fact that even though I guess what you sent me, he showed me that he was in a possibility of getting taken out of the UFC or the rankings completely. But
Hmm.
he gets knocked out by Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is showing that he's gonna knock out everybody in this damn featherweight division.
Yeah.
He's done it to Shane Burgos. He just did it to Jeremy Stevens, who we know Jeremy Stevens is pretty tough. So who knows who else he's gonna knock out next? Um, and then loses to Josh Emmett, who just showed that he's a monster and willing to bang and didn't look bad in the fight at all. So when you showed me
Mm-mm.
that, I was like, that's interesting. It was kind of like people judging where the rankings are going to go before actually watching the fight, which I
Which
think
is crazy.
yeah, you can't do that because you have to not only get to take away like wins and losses, like yeah, but you also have to look at how that person performed in said loss. So this is a loss, yes, but it's a very close loss.
Dude, what if Emmett would have just dominated Burgos, or vice versa? What if Burgos would have dominated Emmett? Like, came out scot free, didn't even get touched. He just starches him like for 3 rounds and just
Hmm.
what? That doesn't do anything for your rankings. It doesn't do anything to move the needle. Like after Emmett's tear, the run that he's been on, and he gets dominated, or after Shane Burgos being such a high level prospect and only having one loss on his record
Yeah.
against a streaking Calvin Qatar, I just feel that they're stupid, and I feel like by them putting those out, they're just telling people how to vote, how they want it to be, so that they can negotiate with the fighters going forward.
Yeah, that was a bad luck because I don't think Burgos should lose very much from this fight, man. It was a great fight. He showed that I think he has the ability to hang with anybody in this division. I think.
Hmm.
Um, so and he took some heavy shots, man, like some big heavy shots. Didn't get knocked out. Maybe he's working on that chin. But I mean, we all know Calvin Guitar is one of the better strikers in the featherweight division. So you
The
know,
crazy thing to think about this fight is that Shane Burgos is probably going to be ranked higher than Josh Emmett at, at at the end of this, because they're going to take Emmett out because he's going to have so much months of inactivity. And
yeah,
Burgos is probably going to fight again in like 3 4 months. Give him another
yeah.
opportunity to get in the rankings.
And I hope he does, man. I hope he does because he's an exciting fighter. All right, next up, I honestly didn't watch this fight main event. I wasn't very interested in this fight, even though I like Curtis Blades, but I just wasn't an interesting fight for me, so I didn't watch it. But it was Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov. From what I heard, Dana wasn't very happy.
Dana was not
uh,
happy. It was the main event, and it was a wet blanket on top of a fighter for 5 rounds, basically. And
yeah,
I mean, I don't blame him. Like I mentioned to you, that's Curtis Blades' bread and butter is his wrestling. He realized that, once he
mhm.
started losing a couple, he didn't want to lose anymore. And I think they messed up by saying it was a number one contenders match because then
Yeah,
there was so much pressure for him to win and not lose that he's like, I'm going to eliminate any risk and I'm just going to wrestle the crap out of this guy. And that's
yeah.
exactly what he
First of all,
did.
can't say it's a number one contender match because we all know that Ngannou is the next contender. It'd
Well,
be different if you're trying to find the guy who's gonna fight for the vacant title, but there's no vacant title yet because we're getting the third DC versus Stipe fight.
yeah, but both of those
You know,
guys could retire at the end of it. Um, Ngannou is next for sure, but he's definitely next after Ngannou. I mean, he doesn't have to fight anybody else. There's nobody else for him to fight. So I'm thinking both DC and Stipe retire, and it's Francis Ngannou versus Blades 2
mhm.
for the vacant title.
Yeah, and I think I mean if Blades can get past the power and just wet blanket him for 5 rounds,
Well, I'm just telling you this right
Dana
now.
won't like it, but
Dana White is gonna give Francis Ngannou an incentive of like $50 million.
knock him out,
So please knock him out.
knock him out, and your next vacation is paid for.
Yeah,
You
because
choose the place.
he does not want a heavyweight that is as boring as Curtis Blades, man. And it sucks. He's boring. I don't think he's boring. I mean, I love that stuff. I love from even when before, man, when there was jiu-jitsu and people were like, what are they doing on the ground? Why are they on the ground like that? It's the same thing with wrestling, just on a different level. Like Curtis Blades' hand position and hip positioning and leg positioning and weight positioning is just the top of the game right now as far as wrestling goes in the heavyweight division. And it's awesome to watch because these are grown men and they can't get him off of them. They're the same
Yeah,
size, they're the same strength for the most part, and he just has better positioning, better understanding of wrestling and momentum and weight. And he just right. I mean, he ragdolled them. He picked them up and dropped them like he was a ragdoll. You know what I'm saying? Like he
yeah.
said he was going to do that, and he did it. So he has a lot of confidence in his wrestling at that division. I will say in the last round he was getting tired. He was getting really tired because he was wrestling for so long and basically manhandling for so long.
Yeah, it's his
I,
first 5 round fight, right?
yeah, but I blame that also on the small cage. He didn't have a lot to move around, so he had to shoot more. He had to wrestle more. In a bigger cage, I don't think he'd have to. I think he could move around more, kind of escape more, angle more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is boring for the masses for the most part. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens in a rematch with Ngannou. I want to see that fight. I just want to see that fight to see again power versus wrestling. If Ngannou's going to
Hmm.
be able to turn his lights off, then we really are looking at um, our generation's Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, just knocking everybody out.
Yeah, man,
And
you're not wrong.
and he will have that aura about him, like he touches you, your head explodes, and he ends up with the championship. So, I mean, I definitely want to see Blades fight, man. I don't think he's boring like a lot of people do, like Dana White thought he is or thinks he is, because Dana White knows he's boring to the masses. But he's still interesting to me, man. He's still something to be reckoned with. Big dude, knows how to wrestle, and he's out there about his W's, man. He doesn't care. He just wants to get that W.
Yeah, and the thing, okay, so the Blades, it's not that, and I like watching wrestlers, man. When wrestlers work and it's exciting, it's exciting. And it's not even about Blades. It's just that when I have to go back and if I can't sit down and watch the fights live, and I have to go back and rewatch the fights,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch what I think I need to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it comes down to this was just a wrestling match that went on for 25 minutes. I'm not going to go back and rewatch it. But I mean, for sure, like if I'm sitting down and watching a live fight, I'm not going to get to the damn main event and turn it
And
off
not
because,
watch it.
yeah, I'm not going to turn it off. I'm going to sit there and watch it, especially if I have a beer in my hand. But if I have to go back and watch a fight, it's just those are the ones I don't look forward to watching. So that's why I didn't go back and watch it. And then also to Dana, you booked Curtis Blades And
dude.
Alexander Volkov in the main event. What did you think you were gonna get?
Dude, that's what that is literally what Curtis Blades said multiple times in his post fight press conference and the post fight interview, and he also tweeted it out.
Like,
He
what
said
did
I think he retweeted. He said, "I'm gonna manhandle him for 5 rounds. I'm gonna ragdoll him for 5 rounds." That's what he said. Like, well, what did y'all think was gonna happen? He was gonna all of a sudden crane kick him,
yeah, exactly.
you know what I'm saying, like the Karate Kid.
Question
No,
mark
man.
kick. Question mark kick.
Yeah, like is Khabib gonna go out there and do like a spinning back kick on somebody and knock him out?
Yeah.
No, man.
No.
He's gonna wrestle. He's gonna wrestle.
Exactly. There's no problem with it, man. Keep doing what you're doing, Blades. If that's what gets you to the
Hey,
mountaintop,
man.
keep doing it.
I can't knock him, man. If your skill set is wrestling, I don't expect you to try to win a championship at the highest level by kickboxing.
Look,
Wrestle.
and this is why when you, I've heard it said multiple times, and I believe, and I agree with it. Wrestlers are at a disadvantage in the UFC because the fight starts on the feet. That
Every
fighter has to
round.
find every round you have to start and you have to find a way to get that fighter on the ground. So that means you're at an equal playing field, and maybe the wrestler is even in a small, even in a lower playing field because they have to engage with you.
Dude, check this out. Fight starts standing every round, right?
Yep.
If you're not busy, they stand you up.
Yeah.
If you're standing up and you're not busy, do they put you on the ground?
Hell no.
No. So not
against the fence.
So not only do you have to start on your feet, you wrestle them down. When you're on the ground, you have to be busy. But if a kickboxer is not being busy and just running away, they don't tell them anything. You know what I'm saying? They don't change their positioning. That's why wrestlers are at a disadvantage, and that's why for them to be able to do what Curtis Blades does and what Khabib does, I'm telling you, I think it's a great martial art to know and understand, and it's beautiful in its own right, man. You know, it's just
absolutely
it's just not as well liked because it's not the slam dunk, it's not the home run.
It's not sexy, dude.
You know, it's the suicide squeeze. Maybe not. It's probably too exciting. It's probably the sack fly of MMA.
Sack fly. Because I was gonna say the squeeze bunt is pretty good, especially if you're like, oh, they might get there, especially Altuve. If Altuve's squeeze bunting, yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, it's probably the sack fly, or it's the
pick and roll of the NBA.
The pick and roll. It's the Euro step. We're just kind of like they're tired of it. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, dude, that's what it is, man.
It's the Harden, because people are tired of watching Harden.
Even though he's a genius and a master.
Yeah, a genius and master, but they don't know. You don't know genius when you're seeing it. Oh well. All right, let's get to the next card, man. This is a good card, up and down. Bunch of guys that I'd never really heard of and surprised me. So first off, we have Yusuf Zalal taking out Jordan Griffin. I was kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting Jordan Griffin to lose this, but apparently he was the underdog. No, he wasn't.
Well,
Yusuf Zalal was the underdog.
Yeah.
Yusuf Zalal gets the win. I think I missed this fight just by a little bit. Did you see it? Did you go back and watch it?
I went back and watched all of them, man. This fight, Jordan Griffin looked a lot bigger than Yusuf Zalal. He was outstruck by a lot, but he did take him down. Griffin took down Zalal a couple of times. I think it was a lot tighter than what people made it seem like. And at the end of it, Jordan Griffin was shocked that he had lost.
I did see that.
I wouldn't say it was shocking, but I will say it was closer than the scorecards, I guess.
So what I heard you say right now is he's robbed?
No, I don't think he was robbed. He's not robbed. I mean, like
casuals.
Yeah, dude. There's a robbery.
Yeah. There's like
I just think that he can't leave it up to the judges, man. And he did have 2 takedowns, and he held him down for a while, kind of beat him up a little bit, and controlled him. I think he had like something like 3 or 4 minutes of control in the whole fight, which is pretty good. I mean, it's almost a whole round of control. Yeah. But he was outstruck by 2-1. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, man. You know, it's up in the air. The judges probably scored it better because they like the striking of Zalal. And
strikes.
Yeah, and towards the end, the last round, he was tired and he was taking a lot of punches, dude. Just like, and what I'm saying, taking them is like he knew he was getting punched, and he was just like, all right, I'll just take him. Like, I'm not gonna get knocked out, so I'm just gonna dip my head and let him hit me while I move backwards. You know?
Yeah. So guys, you just heard us talking about Curtis Blades, who had 25 minutes of wrestling, basically, and one guy did 3 minutes and was tired. So think about how hard it is to wrestle somebody.
25 minutes at heavyweight.
Heavyweight. Exactly. All right, next up, women's strawweight, Kay Hansen, Jin Yu Frey. And the interesting point I want to point out with this is that Kay Hansen is the youngest fighter on the card in the UFC on the roster at 20 years old.
No, she's the second
Um,
youngest.
or second youngest. So 20 years old.
Chase Hooper's the youngest by 1 month.
Oh, is it? Okay. So,
By 1 month, yeah.
then she's definitely the youngest women's fighter for sure on the
Definitely.
roster. So gets the win via submission here and gets a performance of the night with this. Was it an armbar?
It was a weird armbar. It was an armbar. I think they're crediting it as an armbar. She also had a triangle, an inverted triangle. So she could have finished her by choke as well if she wanted to. But I mean, it was a pretty legit fight. I feel she's so young. I mean, you could tell the difference in body. Jin Yu Frey is like 35, I think.
Yeah,
she's a lot more muscular, a lot stronger than her. You could tell. But Kay Hansen is really skilled, man. I mean, she's really skilled. She knows what she's doing. She doesn't look like a 20-year-old up there, man. So it was a really good fight. I'm now very interested in Kay Hansen going forward, man.
So, like the Emperor would say, were we paying attention to your career with much interest?
Yes. On top of that, real quick, I don't know if you saw it came out at the very last minute. Somebody dropped $37,000 on Kay Hansen to win.
Ooh, nice.
To win 37,000. No, 20,000 to win 37,000.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Yeah, and Kay Hansen got to meet that person at the airport when they were leaving. She took a picture with them, and the guy didn't give her any money. He should have given her some money.
That's messed. Well, she did just get $50,000.
Still, man. I mean, I helped you win 37 grand. Throw me 2 grand. Throw me 3 grand. Come on, man.
All right, that's true. All right, next up, heavyweight fight: Philip Lins, Tanner Boser, and Tanner Boser with a very nasty knockout.
Very nasty knockout. He hit him like 3 times after he was knocked out already. But man, they did make a big stink about his body, compared to the first fight. Have you seen Boser's first fight? So he looked pudgy in the first fight, and he looks ripped in this fight. And it made a big difference, man. It made a big difference, I guess, in his confidence, his fighting style, his power.
Maybe,
dude, it was legit. It was a legit knockout, man. That's what heavyweights can do.
Absolutely, it was big. And when you see there's something about when you watch just a heavyweight that can just strike and just has nasty power and it lands, because you know how it is when you get you can have a heavyweight that has nasty power but it doesn't land, i.e. Derek Lewis. Sometimes the fight usually is pretty bad, pretty boring. So when it lands, it's just like, oh, mwah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. All right, next up, lightweight. One I was looking forward to because I like me some Luis Pena. Luis Pena and Kama Worthy is one of those up and comers I think everyone needs to keep their eye on.
The fight of the best nicknames, 2 of the best nicknames in the game.
Oh, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. What is Kama's?
You don't know Kama's? You don't know Kama's?
Oh, the Death Star. Damn, that's number 1. Even though I like Violent Bob Ross right now, Death Star's number 1. But man, Luis just couldn't hang on the feet. But when he got him on the ground, man, he was putting in work, and it's just the only problem is at the 3rd round he couldn't get him on the ground.
And he was tired. He was tired.
And then that he went right into the damn right into that choke, man. Yeah, right into that guillotine. It wasn't even it didn't even look like it was in completely. He had it very weird.
No, he had an inverted, not inverted. I forgot what they called it, but it's actually a nastier version of a guillotine because he was all the way through. And his hand was like this. Like usually when you get a guillotine, you're like halfway like this, so like your wrist is under their neck, and you're kind of
and you're just squeezing. That's why you burn your arm out.
Yeah, but his arm was all the way through, man. Like he was squeezing them with one arm, like the bicep and the forearm. And those are nasty, man. There's another guy, I think I forgot what his name is, but he's known for those. But this was a great fight. As much of it as I put on Kama Worthy, he's not a submission guy. He's a knockout guy. So I put more of the blame on Luis Pena and his him being tired.
And eating some nasty shots, man.
Yeah, and eating some nasty shots that he had to go for that lazy lazy takedown. But like Kama
Hmm.
Worthy said, man, I mean, I like him. I like his attitude towards the end, and when he was talking and him saying, this is old man strength, this is dad strength. He's like 35 years old or something like that. So,
Yeah.
so put one up for the older guys up there, man. So I definitely thought it was a great fight from both of them. I don't think Pena loses a lot with this. He's still an up and comer.
No.
He has some good. I mean, he was. I would probably say he was winning the fight probably.
Yeah, he
Uh,
just got tired, man.
yeah.
And he got tired. And he got tired of eating punches.
Yeah, he had
So
three
and
takedowns. He had three takedowns and three submission attempts. So I think he was probably winning that fight.
yeah, I think so too. It's just he went for the takedown one too many times, and Kama was able to get that guillotine underneath and got him, man. But like I said, I think Kama's one of those guys though. If he's got someone who's willing to bang with him, he's gonna have to put on some great fights in the
Yeah, he's
upcoming
not,
future. And I think he,
more than likely he's gonna put their lights out too because he has a lot of power, man.
yeah, man, I'm excited to watch him. Because he's one of those guys, even though he's 35, with the amount of fights that they're doing over and over again. And if he starts like putting guys out
He
one round,
he said he wanted to go to Fight Island.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to string off a good like 4 or 5 fights off pretty quickly, man. I think he's one of those guys that can go on a streak. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, at that division, there's one guy that's just impossible to get past. It's impossible to not think of when I think of this division, you know?
Yeah, but I think that's doing you some harm, and we'll talk about that
It
later
might,
on
yeah.
as
Well,
well.
yeah. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. All right. Next up,
But
this one I was looking forward to because I like the sniper, Sean Woodson, Julian Erosa, man. Erosa taking this fight on short notice on what says that he got the call on Wednesday. That I like how Michael Bisping said he was probably sitting at home drinking a beer,
yeah,
and
dude,
he
I
gets
love
the
it when,
call.
when Bisbing says that because Bisbing is projecting because he was probably on home Wednesday drinking a beer.
He's like, he's probably at home drinking a beer. Gets
Mhm.
the call, comes in, takes his fight, and this is not a great fight that I would want to take if I was anybody because I even pointed out to my girl who doesn't even understand why this is a big deal. Sean Woodson has a 78-inch reach.
Dude,
Holy shit, dude!
that's ridiculous, dude.
That's
That's
not
ridiculous.
normal. And my girlfriend was like, she saw him and she was like, he looks odd, like he looks off.
Yeah, yeah.
But
There
yeah,
was a
I
lot
get
of
it.
pictures on Twitter rolling around of saying that he has his weird body, and some of them were photoshopping his waistline all the way to like his chest right here, and it's just it's
Yeah,
just
man, it's
hey,
true.
but dude, it's usually those unique body styles or body sizes that have advantages. I mean, if you look at John Jones, dude, John Jones has an 84-inch or 86-inch reach
Yeah.
at light heavyweight. That's
Um,
ridiculous, dude.
when I think of like odd, but even though he's not like a really odd body type, he's fantastic. He looks great. One of the guys I always thought was like a freak when I first saw him was like Anderson Silva. I always
Hmm.
thought he was like a freak because he was just incredibly long. Like his arms were long, his legs were long.
Well, dude, and here's the other thing that was incredibly freakish about Anderson Silva, that he was long and wiry and thin, but he was as strong, if not stronger, than a lot of the other guys in that division at 185. I mean, he was
Yeah,
he was. If you look at Rich Franklin, dude, Rich Franklin probably walks around at 220, 230, and he was ragdolling them with his Muay Thai. But
yeah,
when they were both at 185, it's just he has a different kind of strength about him too. So I think that's the
yeah,
freaky part of him too as well.
yeah. So Woodson, and you know what? I give all credit to Julian Erosa on this one, man.
Dude,
Because if
dude,
if this is anybody else, Erosa gets not, or if it was somebody else, Sean Woodson gets a knockout in the first or the second round because of the types of punches that were landing on Erosa. I didn't knock out anybody else or knock out a lot of other people, but Erosa was able to walk through him. Dude, he just walked through him
dude,
and just kept coming forward.
I gained a lot of respect for Julian Rosa. He doesn't have the greatest record. He was 23-9 coming in here. Late notice going against Sean Woodson. He's been on late notice in the UFC before 2 years ago where he lost. He lost again after that. So he hasn't had the greatest time in the UFC. But this fight right here is just like everything came together last minute notice. He didn't have anything to lose. He walked through fire. He literally walked through fire with all the punches to get his own punches in. And then in the end, eventually, they paid off and he was able to get himself a really sweet submission.
Yeah,
Um,
the Darce choke, you don't see that very often.
Dude, not only that, but just that's so difficult to get once you're already standing up. Like once you're,
Hmm.
trying to get out of it, it's so difficult. And then it's even harder when you're sweaty. In the third round, you usually see those darces in the first round when they're not as sweaty.
Hmm.
But as much credit goes to Arosa, the opposite of that goes to Woodson, man.
Hmm.
Woodson has all the advantage in the world. He's piecing them up, and I feel to an extent he basically did kind of what Nama Yunus did, where you were saying she needed to get her out of there, because now
Playing with your
something could happen.
food.
He played with his food. He should have gotten this guy out of there sooner, faster, be more aggressive, and he was just banking up the whole fight, man. And yes, that's your fight style. Yes, it's worked for you in the past, but when you have such an advantage, and you see what this guy's game plan is to take you to deep water, and you also hurt him. You hurt him,
Multiple times.
dude. You need to take this guy out, man.
Yeah.
And
I think what I want to point out is Bisping when describing him is saying that he doesn't throw anything. He's not really throwing things with power. He's just like he's
mhm.
just throwing it. He's
he's not
throwing it and
sitting.
it's
He's not sitting
landing.
down. Yeah.
And I think you can do that in the first round because sometimes I can work like at i.e. Ferguson. Ferguson, even though he doesn't really throw things or Holloway doesn't really throw
All
things
the
with
way either.
power,
Yeah.
but he's landing to the point where eventually these guys either they give up or they either give up or they the fight is ended for them because they look so bad.
Hmm.
But with this guy, when you realize, okay, this guy can take a lot of damage, and honestly, he didn't even look that beat up. He wasn't bleeding. He wasn't like cut up or
Hmm.
anything. He was just a little swollen, but that happens. Um, when you realize, okay, I'm not doing much damage in terms of physical damage, it's time for me to put a little stank on these punches now. You
Yeah.
got to
Sit
put a
down
little
on
something
him.
on the end of them, and that was the problem here. And there were even points I think he got touched a couple of times where I think towards the end of that third round, he looked like
Hmm.
he didn't want to be anywhere near Erosa. And when you
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
like that, all of a sudden Erosa knows, okay, I got him.
Yeah, now I got to come forward even more. My
Yeah.
my game plan is working, and this goes back to the thing that I've said in almost every episode. You got to learn how to lose. So he was
Hmm.
undefeated, and this is a big learning lesson for him. You can't play with your food. If you're a level above in skill set and you're teeing off on him, sit down on your punches and knock him out. Get him out of
Yep.
there. And he didn't do that. Hopefully in the future he will do that. Definitely want to see obviously more of Sean Woodson. We both like him, and
Yeah,
then
he's young
now.
too.
Yeah, he's really young, and now I guarantee we both want to see more of Julian Rosa
Oh,
because
absolutely, man.
that
And
dude,
gets the
that
fifty
dude,
thousand.
that dude's a gamer, man. That dude's a gamer. Wednesday night drinking beers, fighting on Saturday night and winning and taking a lot of
Yeah.
damage. So definitely one
Yeah.
to watch out for.
Woodson's 28. He's got plenty of time to get this under control and figure out what he's trying to do. So,
Yep.
but once again, I think I'm pretty. And what's his division is the lightweight, right? Because they fought
I
at
think yeah.
159. So I believe this was at 159 or 160 technically was the catch weight, and they both weighed in about like 159. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
155 is their normal weight.
No, he's 145.
Oh Jesus Christ, dude! Why
Mm-hmm.
did he drop so much weight? Oh, I hate that.
To have more advantages, but again, like we said, maybe you don't need to do all that.
Dude, he's got an advantage. If he went to 170, he's got an advantage. Like what, a 78-inch reach, dude? Come on. I think
That's what I'm saying.
Bisping said he's like either the Bisping or Cruz said that there's guys at 185 that wish they had a 78-inch reach.
Yeah, there's British guys. He said. Oh, did you see? Did you see the joke that was said on the prelim that wasn't a joke that Bisping made into a joke? That was like, oh man,
No.
Bisping is. John Anik said, yeah, we're fighting tonight, but we like I could say like us three, we have one eye on Fight Island going forward in a couple weeks. That's what he said, and then Bisping later he said, John, I always have one eye on it.
Very good. I love Bisping. Bisping's fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, welterweight fight. I didn't see this one, so please tell me about it. Takashi. See these next two or next three, I didn't really watch. I kind of just glanced at Mike Perry, but I tuned in for the main. So
Mm-hmm.
we can just go over them real quick. Apparently, this one's real quick. Takashi Sato, Jason Witt knocks him out in 47 seconds. Tell me about it.
He knocked him out in 47 seconds.
All right, let's move on.
He just, I mean, straight. I think it was a straight left down the pike, knocked him out. And just so you know, Muhammad beat Sato the last time out. So Sato is not the greatest, but he looked really good against this guy, who I think was also a last minute replacement.
Okay. All right, next up, middleweight, Brandon Allen, Kyle Dawkins. I know
Yes.
Brandon Allen, don't know Kyle Dawkins. So fill me in.
Well, Dawkins was undefeated. He had some moments, but Brendan Allen pretty much dominated the fight. I think one judge gave the fight to Kyle Dawkins, and people were
Whoa.
outraged. Yeah, people were outraged. So I don't know, man. It was just overall a good win for Brendan Allen. Um, I mean, they had pretty much the same strikes. So actually, Dawkins had more strikes, and he had 3 takedowns, but Allen had a big knockdown in the fight. So I don't know, man. It was. I thought Allen won. Somebody gave it to Dawkins, but either
Yeah.
way,
Well, Allen's number 13 in the middleweight ranking. So I don't know if
honestly,
that.
I don't see him going up any higher than that right
Yeah.
now.
All right. Next up, heavyweight. This is one just want to talk about the end. Jan Vellante and Maurice Green. From what I heard, Green's losing. Takes it,
First of all,
they go to the ground. Or
fir-
no, he gets knocked down, right?
he gets knocked
Green gets
down,
knocked down. Vellante, chases him and he gets choked out.
dude. This is first of all, Jan Vellante is normally a 205 pounder, so this is
Uh-huh.
this is pandemic mindset right here. And I've
Okay.
been seeing a lot of posts, both male and female, saying pre-pandemic, post-pandemic bodies. Jan Vellante is in the throes of a post-pandemic body because the dude just looks pudgy, no
Uh-oh.
definition.
Uh-oh.
Like I mean, it literally looked like a guy. You know who like it reminded me of, or who I thought of? I thought of Al Bundy. Just got into a fight. Yeah, he just, what I'm saying? Like he's just a guy drinking beers on his
Yeah.
couch, and pudgy guy, and it's because he's not a normal heavyweight. He's not a normal
Yeah.
heavyweight. But he actually called out Maurice Green. Maurice Green took that personally. He was actually doing the what's that guy's name we just talked about, the Julian Erosa, and taking some
Mhm.
punches from Green. And Green was dancing, dude. He was dancing the whole fight, and he basically won the first 2 rounds. The third round, both of these guys were tired. Vellante has a lot of power. He landed. I mean, I think in the third round he hurt him like 3 or 4 times, and I'm talking about to the body. Like he was hitting him to the body, to
Mhm.
Maurice Green's body, and it was like hurting him. He finally catches him upstairs, knocks him down. He jumps on top of him, try to beat him up. I mean, he was going at it like throwing everything he had at him, and then they end up in this weird position, and Maurice Green slips under, and because again, Vellante is really a light heavyweight, not a heavyweight, and Green is like a super heavyweight because he's like 6'7" or something, has huge arms. He
Mhm.
grabs this head and arm triangle or head and arm choke from underneath, and Vellante's so tired he can't do anything, taps out. So
Was that the OSP choke or no?
no, not at all. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like you can get these chokes, but they're very difficult at that level because if you're on top, you have so many outs, except if you're tired. So it's
Mhm.
basically that one where they get the arm like this,
Yeah.
and they're so it was that, but from the bottom. So he's looking up at him. He put his arm past his head, and he grabbed him, and Vellante just couldn't do anything, and he tapped. He was so tired.
You know
He
what?
was. I
It's a
mean,
beautiful.
he's just tired,
Oh,
dude.
yeah. Hey, it's a beautiful moment in that post fight interview, man. Hearing him basically say that he needed this win, that he was probably on the chopping block. He probably was, man. Probably. I
Mhm.
mean, I like this nickname too, the Crochet King. Um, but he says that he was probably on the chopping block, and now he gets to. I believe he wanted to move his family to Albuquerque.
Yeah, because he wants to get a better campaign. So, dude, Maurice Green's had a up and down career. I think he
Mhm.
played football at one point. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. On the Ultimate Fighter, he didn't do himself any favors, and he was just a jerk.
Mhm.
He honestly he looked like he had a drinking problem on there, and he was an asshole to everybody. So I didn't really care about him or his projection or his career projections or whatever. He did have a lot of unique skill set as far as strength, power, speed at that point. He also had jujitsu, which I like jujitsu.
Yeah.
But in the heavyweight division, man, he's been up and down. He's been knocked down. He's been submitted. Like he's been up and down. So like he was
Right.
right. He was probably about to get chopped. But the heavyweight division is not that big. It's not that great. So he gets a second chance to go move his family down to Albuquerque, get some good training, get some good coaching in, and maybe he can make something of it.
Yeah, man. You know what, man? The thing about the heavyweight division is a lot can happen in the heavyweight division. You can have one of those days where somebody's off, or you just you land the right punch on the right button, man. That's the thing
Done.
about them heavyweights, man.
Yeah,
they all,
all of them can knock you out.
yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping for the best for him, man. Next up, speaking of camp, one guy is moving his family to go join a camp. This guy decided he doesn't need a camp. He doesn't need a corner. He just needs his girl. This guy's different, man. He's quickly become one of the most hated guys in the UFC. I would think in terms of like the internet, because he thinks
Well,
he's black, but he's not black. He said a bad word that he's not supposed to say on Twitter and went on like a rant about it. I'm pretty sure he had a different girlfriend before this, because
yeah,
he had a blonde girlfriend that was walking him down one time.
yeah, and he has allegations of domestic abuse too,
Yeah, one
hanging over
sec.
his head.
Yeah, man. Go ahead and continue.
All right.
My son just had an accident.
Okay. Yeah. So Mike Perry, not the greatest guy, not the greatest person. Didn't have a fight camp. Had his girlfriend as his corner and his coach. Obviously not wise. A lot of people obviously thought this wasn't wise. Going up against Mickey Gall, who has been put in against people that he's supposed to lose to, maybe, and he keeps beating them with his wrestling. So Mike Perry goes in there, takes care of business, and wins. He actually wrestles him as well, and beats him in that department, with his girlfriend giving him the corner advice of "Great job, babe. You look good out there, babe." And I mean, that's probably, I don't know, some of the worst advice that's ever been given in any MMA, not just the UFC. But he wins the fight by decision. He needed it. Perry, to that point, has said that he was not going to continue to not have a corner. He was going to find a fight camp and fight training partners. After this fight, he said that he just wanted to win a fight on his own so that he can prove to these coaches that he doesn't need them. I don't know what kind of a thought process that is. But nonetheless, that's what Mike Perry said. Afterwards, he had people on Twitter, reaching out to him saying, "Hey, come train with us." One of them was Houston's own Din Thomas, who reached out to him. Ibrahim Kawa has also reached out to him as well. So he's going to find a fight camp. He has some fight in him. He has some skill set, but he also lacks a lot. So we'll see what happens with Mike Perry going forward. Mickey Gall, pretty bad fight. You lost to a guy who was on not the greatest fighter, has some bad losses on his record, and didn't even have a fight camp or a coach. So back to the drawing board for you, Mickey Gall, and we'll see where we go from there. Mickey Gall, actually, let me see, his last 3 fights. He beat Salim Tori in August of 2019, and he actually lost to Diego Sanchez by TKO before that. And then prior to that, he had beat George Sullivan. So I don't know what's going on with Mickey Gall, what kind of fighters he's getting, what kind of trajectory he's on, but he just lost to Mike Perry. Mike Perry, on the other hand, had lost to Jeff Neal, which Jeff Neal is a beast. He knocked him on the first round. He lost to Vicente Luque by decision, and then he beat Alex Oliveira by decision before that. So he was on a 2-fight losing streak, and he's 2-2 in his last 4. Hopefully he gets whatever with this guy. He's not the greatest person, so I'm sure he's gonna find a fight camp, and then we'll see him fighting in the future, because again, he's controversial. Dana White loves controversy because he thinks it brings eyeballs to the UFC. So we will see what happens there. The next fight is the main event. It's Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker. I definitely want to wait for Alec before we talk about that, because it was such a great fight. Kind of want to see his take on it. So in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll start talking about oh man. Yeah, I guess the next fight card is the next fight card is Fight Island, Saturday, July 11th, which is not next week, but the weekend after. So after 4th of July weekend, we have a stacked card. Really stacked card. the top three fights are Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight division championship. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway for the featherweight championship in a rematch. Volkanovski won in the first fight. And then the third fight is a bantamweight title fight for the vacant title that Henry Cejudo unceremoniously gave up when he retired between Peter Yan and Jose Aldo. And then to round out the rest of the main card, you have a rematch between Jessica Andrade and Rose Namajunas. And then another flyweight. Sorry, man. You have another flyweight fight between Amanda Ribas and Paige Van Zandt. I just went over UFC 251 so that we could talk about Hooker and Poirier together.
Man. Sorry about that. So, my son woke up and had a accident.
Oh, it's okay.
Clean it up. Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, we were saying about Perry. I mean, how did he look? I didn't watch the fight. How did he look?
Well, he looked all right, man. What I was saying is, I mean, he beat him on the feet, and then he actually wrestled him some. I saw him wrestle him some too in the third round. It wasn't that close of a fight. He had one knockdown. He knocked him down once. He outlanded him 103 strikes to 59 strikes. He outlanded him 76 strikes to 55 strikes. And then the third round, he wrestled him, got one takedown, and he controlled him. So he just pretty much, was a clear-cut winner. So that says more as well about Mickey Gall not being able to beat a guy like Mike Perry who didn't have a fight camp at all. And he just basically beat you off of instincts. I was saying Mike Perry's not the greatest person in the world, so I don't really care what happens with Mike Perry, but I do know that a lot of coaches have reached out to him, especially, not especially, but significantly. Din Thomas here from Houston reached out to him to come train, and also Ibrahim Kawa has reached out to him as well. So he has opportunities to train with people. We'll see who he trains with and what's next for Perry, but he's 2-2 in his last 4. Mickey Gall, I think, is now 1-1 in his last 2, and he's also 2-2 in his last 4, if I remember correctly. So I mean, it was a sucky co-main event. I don't like Mike Perry. I think he's just controversial. I think Dana White likes that. It brings eyeballs to the to the UFC. And Mickey Gall is kind of a weird fighter, man. Like, he's always been fighting. I mean, he fought like CM Punk.
Yeah.
He fought what's his name? Diego Sanchez, and he lost to him, even though he was like 2 times bigger than him. And all the other guys he's fought are just basically no-name guys that aren't in the rankings, and he beats those guys. But when he comes up against a guy like Mike Perry, he loses. So I don't know. I think Mickey Gall is just a journeyman at this point. He's not really a contender or going to be a contender. And I think Mike Perry is just he's like a way watered down version of maybe like a Donald Cerrone, who's just there for controversy and action,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the main event, what we're all excited to talk about. Oh, also check out some of the memes that people were putting about what his corner was saying to him. There's some funny ones out there.
There's some funny ones out there, and I mean, don't sleep on her, man. She's 1-0 when she's cornering. So.
You're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong.
100% win rate. So
I think it was who was it? Was it Danny? It was I think it was either maybe it was Aljamain Sterling said that he needs to, for every fight, Mike Perry needs to have a different girlfriend.
Well, somebody said, wait a second, you're telling me that I just need my girlfriend in my corner and I'll win?
Everybody says to have his wife in the corner, his corner next to him. It was great. Anyways, next up, all right, so let's get to the main event, man. This is a great fight. And I don't think anyone expected anything less from these two guys. All-out war. Some guys saying Fat Joe saying he's the best fight he's ever seen, which I'm not going to argue with him.
Who said that?
Was it Fat Joe?
Oh, yeah, Fat Joe.
There was a lot of people watching this fight, man. A lot of people had eyes on it, and what a main event to put on ESPN for the UFC. This is how you get people watching the UFC again. You put the fight and plastered all over the Sports Center, please.
Not only that, but there's no other sports on, so you're gonna watch this fight. It's free. It's on ESPN.
That's for a second we're watching.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought it was gonna be on pay-per-view for a second just because of Poirier, but Yeah, man. Everybody. I mean, I think Little Wayne tweeted at Dustin Poirier saying, way to represent for Louisiana." Him and I think Brendan Allen too's from Louisiana. He reached out to both of them. So yeah, man, a ton of people had eyeballs on this, and like you said, this is one of the fights where, like, if people say someone new to MMA, which fight do you show them? You know, to kind of show what MMA is about. This is definitely one of those fights. Now,
Really.
it's I think ESPN coined the term instant classic. This is an instant classic, man. This is an instant classic right here.
Yeah, you got a little bit of everything too. You got the groundwork. At one point, I'm pretty sure there was the armbar locked in on Hooker, and he was able to escape it, which is always exciting to watch, man. Both guys put it all on the line, and I don't think Hooker loses a lot from this fight. Poirier gains a lot of respect from this fight. I mean, you know how I felt about him after his fight against Holloway. I was like, man, this guy is legit. The only reason I'm soured on this division is because of who's at the damn top. Unfortunately, and like you said, that it's a flaw in my thinking. And you're not wrong. It is a flaw in my thinking, but it's hard not to think about it. The monster that is Khabib.
The monster that looms over the division. I mean, and deservedly so. I mean, Khabib, like you said, this fight, let's break this down in so many directions. So this fight was so great. Before we get to Khabib, and I'll tell you what I feel about that as well. But this fight was so great on so many levels. There was so much high level striking going on as well. But what I will say too, as far as Poirier goes, and I don't want to say I like Hooker. I don't really think I don't dislike him, but I don't like his fight style. He gets lucky sometimes and KO some people, but like in the Felder fight, especially too, like I felt he kind of like was sneaky in the way he won, and he was trying to do it to Poirier, and it wasn't working because Poirier knows the trick because he's already been around for so long. But like he was trying to get takedowns at the end to win the rounds. He was trying to like come forward at the last 10 seconds to win the round. He was doing little sneaky stuff like that to try to win, and it didn't work against Poirier because Poirier's been around the game so long. He knows what's up. On top of that, Poirier showed a lot more than in his previous fights. And I'll give you an example. He did the thing that Khabib did to him. He did it on Hooker, and he used it to beat him up on the ground. He tied his feet. That little mermaid thing that Connor said that he was trying to make fun of Khabib. That's the little mermaid thing. He did that to Hooker, and he put him in the position, and he dropped elbows on him. He beat him up with his left hand, which is his dominant hand because he's a lefty. So he used something that was done to him on somebody else. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is that he's still learning and he's still growing even at this stage in his career. And there's a lot of times too that the old Poirier would have folded, man, because there was, I think at the end of the second round when Hooker was just pouring it on towards the end of the round, and just I think he took like 6 hits, in a row against the cage, and then he ducks under and comes back and hurts him with the right and then the left. And then it's on. Like, it's like, okay, Poirier's not going anywhere, man. He's not going anywhere. You're going to have to basically knock this dude out to win a fight against him.
Absolutely. So I just checked something. You just said he's still learning. I didn't realize this. Poirier's only 31 years old.
Yes, man. He's been in the game forever, dude. He's been in the game for that. That's the thing, too. I think why, I try to be as unbiased as I can. And I think for me personally, too, like, I don't like to say I like certain fighters because I don't like to get invested in them, because I don't like the feeling of being let down, or man, you sucked, or they, I don't know. It's always been like that for me, but there's certain fighters that I do share a little more bias to, like a little more like, man, this guy has a great story. Poirier is one of them. And I'll tell you, I've been following Poirier for a long time because he was in a documentary about MMA like 13, 14 years ago, dude, when he was nobody. And he wasn't even the main guy in that documentary. It was another guy that was in his gym, and that guy wasn't taking MMA seriously. And when he came back to the gym, he wanted to take it seriously, and they laughed at him. Like, they said, "Hey, you haven't been here for 3 months." They put him in against Poirier, and Poirier beat the shit out of him. As like a 17-year-old or something.
Yeah.
So I've been following him since then, dude, because he just, where he comes from nothing, and where he's at now, and what he's had to get through. I mean, he lost to Conor McGregor in a really ugly fight. He's had some bad losses, but dude, and that's the thing too, like, he's probably one of the greatest lightweights now that we've ever seen. Look at his resume, man. He has Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, who's a former champion, not only here but in Bellator and Dream and Strike, all these other places. Yeah. He has Holloway. He has Holloway. He has Hooker. He has Holloway twice. He has him he beat him at 145 and he beat him at 155. You know what I mean? So he has a very good resume. He has another notch on his belt right now. He's gonna get another one here soon whenever he fights whoever he fights, because he has very good He has very good matchups with whoever he fights. I think the Tony matchup is probably the worst one for him, but I still think it'll be competitive. I don't think he's gonna get blasted out of there.
Probably the exact same thing.
So that's what I'm saying, man. Like you're saying that about him, like you don't even care to see him fight. I want to see him fight Khabib. If he gets 1 or 2 more fights in and he shows that growth that he's been showing, now he knows what he's going up against with Khabib. Now he's felt that. He's felt that. And in fairness too, I mean, he did have some success for a little bit. It wasn't great, but he knows what was working and what didn't work, Yeah. And maybe Khabib slows down. He hasn't been fighting. Maybe, somebody exposes a hole in his game or something. I don't know. But to write him off is just, I just think it's like you're not allowing yourself to enjoy this guy's fighting, Yeah.
Okay. The first fight, I didn't realize he was 31. 31. Him being 31 totally changes everything because he's got a good 5-6 more years if he wants to. And this probably is prime right now.
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing right now is his prime. I didn't realize he was 31. I was expecting to see a 36, 35 next to his name there. So that's surprising. Second, I can't get one sentence out of my head. One sentence that he said, I can't get him off of me. That's always going to bother me. It's always going to be in my head when I think of Poirier, because you know how hype I was going into that Poirier-Khabib fight. I took Poirier. I was like, oh man, he might be the one. This might be the one.
Who did I take?
He took Khabib. I was like, this might be the one. Poirier's feeling himself. He put on a great fight against Holloway. I was like, man, this might be the same thing, and I can't get that sentence out of my head. I can't get him off me. So if it goes back, and say he goes back and gets another fight against Khabib, I need to be shown that I'm going to expect something different. And he did show something he did show a little bit something. Like you said, he learned that body scissors, that leg scissors, I guess is what you could say, or that lock. He just locked. He locked him up because that's what Khabib's so good at. He basically locks your legs up. And he's basically sitting on your lap, and he just rains down elbows till you turn around, and then he takes you back, and then this is exactly, he did. Or he chokes you out like he did these past couple guys. He did it to Khabib. I mean, he did it to Conor. He did it to Poirier. But we all know it's because he's beating you up so much that you're just like, I need a way out. Because I believe that's what happened with Conor. I think Conor was done. He didn't want to fight anymore.
So I mean, I just think that so a couple of things, and I got to go back and look at it too. This is a big question for me. How many fighters have challenged for the championship to a dominant champion and then had the ability to rematch and then they still lose? Because I think it's high. I think that number is high. And the difference is, I don't know, there might be a little switch coming, because I feel like Poirier has been very open about how strong Khabib was. And just for reference too, Alec, he didn't just do it to Poirier. Khabib does it to everybody. There's nobody he hasn't manhandled. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, Poirier sucks and he just out wrestled him. No, dude, Khabib is the truth when it comes to wrestling and MMA. But me seeing Conor McGregor talk about it, and Conor could just be trying to get into a fight, but he's very confident about what he would do to Khabib again. And I feel like that says something. I've seen as many as I've seen lose, I've also seen a trilogy fight. I mean, look at DC and Stipe. DC and Stipe. DC was winning the whole fight, and then Stipe figured something out, and knocked him out. So maybe the more time you have in there with them, maybe you figure some stuff out. Now, for him learning Khabib's move, I'm not saying that's the whole end all be all, but he's obviously drilling it. He obviously knows how to get in that position, so he knows how to counter. I'm thinking he's learning how to counter, or he knows how to counter at this point. Can he do it to Khabib? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely want to see more growth from Poirier, and then him eventually, hopefully, get another crack at it. I think
Yeah,
Poirier respects. I think Khabib respects Poirier a lot. He called him a champion when he beat him. He said a great fight to him as well on Twitter. I think he respects Poirier a lot. So I'd like to see that again. Maybe give him another crack at it. I don't know if it's going to be right now. Maybe he needs another fight or two before he does that. I think he said
yeah,
he wants to fight again this year. Poirier said, but I don't know now because that was a war, man. That was a complete war. There's only two other fights that qualify for fight of the year in my book for this year, for this crazy year, and that's Whaley and Joanna, and
there you go.
then and Hooker and Felder, because that was also a war.
Oh yeah,
The differences are the Whaley Joanna was for a championship, Felder Hooker was 3 rounds, and this one was 5 rounds.
that was 5.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was 5 rounds. My bad. My bad.
He
I
said
first.
two main events. I
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
he can go 5 rounds.
yeah. Well, yeah, but he fades towards the end, man. He
Yeah,
fades a lot towards the end, and that's the thing too. He I think Poirier saw that fight against Felder, and he saw what Hooker was doing in the end to win those rounds, and this he took Felder down, and and Hooker wasn't able to take Poirier down in the last fights, in the last couple rounds.
yeah,
So that's kind of what sealed it for him, man. But it was a great fight, man. I'm glad a lot of eyeballs got to see this fight. It's one of those fights that is going to go down in history as, remember, we were in the pandemic and they had the last fight before Fight Island, and it was a freaking 5 round war, and those guys left a piece of themselves in the octagon, man.
yeah, man, for sure. So yeah, I think there's only, to me, if you're Poirier, there's only 2 fights I would want because I'm not ready for Khabib. It's Ferguson or it's Conor. Conor's for the money, Ferguson's for the fight. Honestly, it's because you want to knock out the biggest guy in the division. Even though Ferguson lost his last fight, people still see him as the boogeyman of the lightweight division.
Yeah, man. Like people are saying, because I think Hawani said, Ferguson versus Poirier, who says no, and people were saying, oh man, Poirier's gonna beat the brakes off of Ferguson or what, and I'm like, guys, it was one fight, bad matchup for Tony. I feel like if Poirier fights Tony, that's a bad matchup for Poirier. It really is, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's what I'm saying. Like, how can you not want to watch Poirier fight, man? There's so many fights out there for him,
Those are the 2 fights I want to see. And if I'm Hooker, you threw 3 names at me. Remember, I asked you, give me 3 names, because if I'm Hooker, I'm not taking Felder. Even though Felder said he would take the winner, I'm not taking Felder if I'm Hooker because I already beat him. Don't need to take him. So if I'm Hooker, the 2 guys that I'm thinking of are, and you threw out the names. You said Charles Oliveira, which I think Oliveira probably submits him. Maybe I think Oliveira is fantastic though, man. I think Oliveira is one of those guys that
Oliveira is underrated. He's a dark horse in the division. He's been around a long time, and he's young too. Go look at his age.
And they don't expect him.
They don't expect him, and I think that would be a phenomenal fight. I also think that would probably be a fight of the year, dude, because both of those guys are on top of their game right now. Hooker has been in 2 crazy fights, 2 fight of the year contenders. So I don't anticipate him fighting again this year. If he does, it'd probably be in December. That'd be a great fight for him, for Oliveira. And who was the other one I told you?
So the second one I'm gonna go to is Kevin Lee. And I said I think he knocks out Kevin Lee.
You think Hooker knocks out Kevin Lee?
I think Hooker knocks out Kevin Lee. The thing is, like, Lee had his one shining moment, man, with that knockout against Gillespie.
Yeah,
he goes up against Oliveira and looks small. So I think he knocks out Lee easily. And then the last name he threw out was Conor, and I think Hooker gets knocked out by Conor.
Well, the thing about that is that Hooker fought Poirier, and Poirier is left-handed, and Conor is left-handed. So he's seen somebody come from the left-handed stance for 5 rounds. Now, what I will say is Conor is a lot faster than Poirier. He has a lot more kicks than Poirier does. But Hooker has a granite chin as well, man. So I don't know how that fight goes. I don't know even who this Conor is. I don't know if it's the same fighter that he was before.
True. I don't know if he shoulder strike somebody.
Yeah, I don't know who it is anymore. So I still like to see it. As far as the Kevin Lee fight goes, if he stands with him, he gets knocked out. If he's smart and he wrestles him, he probably doesn't get knocked out. But both of them are going to be winded if it's a 5-round fight.
Yeah,
If it's a 3-round fight, I would lean towards Hooker a lot. If it's a
I think it's
3-round
a
fight,
3 round. I think personally that's a 3 round fight in my opinion. I couldn't see that main eventing a card, but then again, we also saw Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo.
but in fairness, I don't see it. I don't see it being a main event either because both of them are coming off a loss. You know.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see, man. So as you said, we'll break down the card next week because we have a big card coming up, and I really want to break it down, which is Fight Island. So I think maybe this Friday will be the next show,
Yeah.
or maybe even earlier if we want to, because for a
Because
little bit I'll be off.
yeah.
We can have another evening show, which would be fun. But yeah, so we'll break down Fight Island next time, but. We'll go ahead and head out here, guys. So make sure you guys check us out. Check me out on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. Pay no attention to the number that's there. It's 0423. Check out Jesus at The Real Jesus. That's spelled JEEZUS. Check out the show's Twitter at Armbar Suplex. And then also go to our Patreon, support us. It's patreon.com/armbars and suplexes. And hit us up, guys, and we'll talk about everything. We'll update as soon as me and him, we're probably going to talk about it either tonight or tomorrow about when we're going to go live again, and we will post it on Twitter so everyone knows to join us. And evening time will be better because I think more people are paying attention during the evening.
Absolutely.
But also, guys, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And comment also. Throw us down some comments and let us know what you want to check out. And also, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. After Monday Night Raw, after WWE NXT, after AEW, I think I'm going to go live and talk about it a little bit here on the channel so we can start putting a little bit more content here on the channel besides just the podcast. So make sure you guys check that out tomorrow night.
Absolutely, man.
All right, guys. We will see you guys next time. Peace out.
AMF.